as always, if you guys can do me a favor, we are live over on the YouTube side of things as well. So if you guys can do me a favor and open a link over on that side too, we are very close to getting monetized. And we're trying our best. Trying our bestest or dangdest to get that YouTube money. Let me go ahead and let's switch on over as soon as I get to chapter 2. There we go. Hi Ruben, how are you? How's your night? Let's switch to do some ASMR. We're gonna do some reading. We will be reading a story called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. We started reading it last week. We didn't get to finish, but we did start it. Our bestest, our dangdest, our hardest, our softest. But you know what? I know I also owe some people some kisses. Let's go ahead. Let's go through the list and make sure we grab all the kisses to go on the model for tonight. Let's see. We'll start with Gaga's. Alright, Gaga. Let's get a kiss. You know what? No, Gaga would bite me. I think Gaga would bite. So we'll grab the blue. You know what? We'll grab the green for Gaga. And Gaga would probably bite my shoulder. So we're gonna put that right there. Alright. And then we have. Let's see, who's after Gaga? Calico. Okay, Calico definitely is a kisser. Blue for Calico. And I'm gonna say Calico's gonna kiss me on the neck. Right here, right below the collar. I just have to put it into the model. This is so hard. This shouldn't be this hard. There you go. Oh no. It's on my chin. No. Right there. No. You know what? We'll just put it right here. Why is it doing that? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Okay, there we go. And there's Calico's. Let's see. One for Raizo. Raizo is definitely a kisser too. We'll do dark purple for Raizo. And this one we'll put on my cheek. Right here. Right here for Raizo. Perfect. Yes? What? What? Thank you for the forehead. Pat? That was a pat, right? That was a pat? Yeah, there was a head pat. Hi Aiden, welcome in, how are you? I'm gonna bite your fingers. Worker. Let's see, let's get a kiss for Worker. Let's do... We'll do hot pink. Hot pink for Worker. It would be absolutely bite equals of. True? Hi Ben, how are you? Welcome in. Shake up. Chimchi subs. Oh, what flavor did you get? And did you use my code? If you didn't use my code, I'm gonna be very sad. I'd be so sad you didn't use my code. Okay, let's do this. Dun, Alright, there you go, and that's for worker. We need one for sloth. Let's see, sloth is I think sloth's a biter. And we're gonna do like a dark red for sloth. Because tan wouldn't show up. And sloth would bite my ear, I believe. So we're gonna put this on my ear right here. Oh, wrong layer. Sloth is for sure a biter. There you go. And let's see. And then Valonia. Let's see. We'll do dark red for Valonia. I'm running out of space. I'll put it over on this shoulder for Valonia. Put it under the clothes and everything. Damn, Escandalo Valonia. Alright, there. Perfect. Alright, let's see who else. Obliterator. Okay. Obliterator. We're gonna do gray. We haven't done much with gray. Oh no. Oh, there it is. We'll bring it to the forefront. We're gonna say they're gonna kiss my collarbone right here. Right there. Okay, there you go, Obliterator. Let's see, who else? Zach. Got one for Zach, okay. Zach, we're gonna do a soft pink, like a soft baby pink. I'm gonna kiss my tummy right here where my gem is. Yeah, it's a good spot. There you go. Let's see who else. Who else did a sub today? Okay, and we're actually caught up. We are completely caught up in all the kisses. Perfect. I would absolutely bet you would. You're a Leo, best accent ever. I am a Leo. I am definitely a Leo. Hi, Allison. How are you? Welcome in. I'm a Libra. Oh, you're a Libra? My brother's a Libra too. Great sign. I think they're all good signs. Hi, Jello. Welcome in. Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's Eve. For me, it's still the 30th for 30 more minutes. Or now, I worked on 13 cars and 8 of them had to work on with someone who threw off my flow consistently. That is the trouble for me when I'm working with other people, is sometimes they throw off my flow, you know? Gonna use your code for the Kaho black tea passion fruit. Some anime girl thighs left. It's such a good one. The Kaho black coffee, sorry, the black tea is so good. It's one of my favorites. I really, really like it. Hi Ben, welcome in. Let's go ahead and do some of these redeems really quick and then we'll get into the reading. And I'll drop the link in chat if you guys want to follow along. Bard, hi Brandon, thank you for the coffee order. Fel, thank you for the coffee order. Ben, thank you for the coffee order and for the forehead kiss. Thank you. Aiden, thank you for the coffee order. And SKZ fan, thank you for the coffee order. Welcome in. Uncaffeinated though. I was surprised that there were some flavors marked as sold out. Oh yeah. Sometimes people just want the flavor but they can't do the caffeine, which I completely understand. You know. Some people can't do the caffeine and I get that. But let me get the link. We are on chapter 2. I know I created a command for this. Here. Yes. Here is the link. If you guys would like to follow along. Reading. Hi Dandy, welcome in. This is not the thing that I thought it was. I was looking for a different type of song. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna mute the music really quickly and try and find this. Let's see. Flavor were your favorites again? Copium, Kaho's Guilty Pleasure, Guacamole Gamer Farts, Kissy Kissy something. I think it's called Kissy Kissy Paradise. There's Project Gutenberg. Oh yeah, I love Project Gutenberg. What else? There was another one. Kissy Kissy Kaho, Guac. It's I can't remember the name of it. It's new-ish. Now I need to look. Now I need to look at the flavors. Because now I'm like, what is it called? Nile Nectar. Nile Nectar is really good. Brand Risk is really good. Their new peach tea, that one's so good. Pestilence Antidote, Bloodlust, those are really good. Doggy Style, that's a good one. Chug Juice, that one's good. Sploosh, I like Sploosh. Good, Lean, those are really good. Like, these are ones that I've all had and I really like them. Those are all the ones that I've tried. Oh, Blowhole Blast, that one's really tasty too. I really like Blowhole Blast. What about this one? It's too happy. I need like sad. Let's see. This one works. Yeah. I like this. Perfect. Do you guys hear the piano at all? Or do I need to erase it? Peach tea sounds like peach tea is really good. It's a really good one. They won't give me a question. I did share what happened last time I received. You did. It was really funny. It was really funny. You hear it? Okay, good, good, good. I wanted it to be very soft and like in the background. Because this is a scary story, so it's perfect. Alright. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna settle in. So while I while I read this. If you guys would like to follow along, you're more than welcome to, but otherwise I won't be looking at chat for a hot minute while I read this. We are on chapter 2 of The Gift Diffused. The Haunted Man and the Ghost Bargain. So what we believe happened, what happened in the first chapter is the main character has like this ghostly version of himself that like follows him. Chili Beans, thanks so much for the follow. Welcome in, how are you? And what ends up happening is the character's name is Mr. Redlaw. So Redlaw has this ghostly version of him that basically makes a bargain with him. He says, the ghost, the specter, tells him, I can take away all the remembrance of things that hurt you, that caused you pain, that made you sad, but in exchange you will lose all of your knowledge. And Mr. Redlaw was a professor, or is a professor, and so he ends up taking the deal. And so the specter basically says, basically he tells him, okay, well, now that the deal is done, that it's done, and then he disappears. And a little after the specter disappears, Mr. Redlaw comes across a homeless boy that his maid, because he has 3 people that work for him. There's a maid, there's like an older gentleman that's like in charge of his like everything, so I want to say his butler, and then there's another gentleman that works for him, and they're a family, right? So the maid is married to the younger man, and the butler is the younger man's father. And so Mr. Redlaw, when he sees this boy half dead, no shoes, feet bleeding because it's cold and wintry outside, he has no emotional reaction. He sees the boy and he just goes, okay. So he is showing signs of not having any empathy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to find out what happens after he brings the boy back to the maid. Oh no. Hi Vera, right? I would not give up my memories of the past, regardless of how much they hurt me. Because for any bargain, there's always something that's going to take, right? You never get anything for free. To get something, you lose something. You know? So, I was like, I need to see what's gonna happen, you know? Oh my gosh, that's really, really happy. I don't like that. How about this? I'd like that. Okay. Alright. So let's go ahead and let's find out what happens to Mr. Redlaw. Chapter 2, The Gift Diffused. A small man sat in a small parlor partitioned off from a small shop by a small screen, pasteled all over with small scraps of newspaper. In company with the small man was almost any amount of small child you may please to name. At least it seems so. They made in that very limited sphere of action such an imposing effect in point of numbers. Of these small fry, 2 had, by some strong machinery, been gotten to bed in a corner, where they might have reposed snugly enough in a sleep of innocence but for the continual prosperity to keep awake, and also to scuffle in and out of bed. The immediate occasion of these predatory dashes at the waking world was the construction of an oyster shell wall in a corner by two other youths of tender age, of which fortification the two in bed made harassing descents, like those accursed pickets. No, we're not going to read that part. Like those accursed. Okay, and then withdrew to their own territory. I was right. In addition to the stir attendants on these inroads and the retorts of the invaded, who pursued hotly and made lunges at the bedcloths under which the marauders took refuge, another little boy in another little bed contributed his mite of confusion to the family stock by casting his boots upon the waters, in other words, by launching these and several small objects in offensiveness in themselves, though of a hard substance considered as missiles, at the disturbers of his repose, who were not slow to return these compliments. Besides which, another little boy, the biggest there but still little, was tottering to and fro, bent on one side, and considerable affected in his knees by the weight of a large baby, which he was supposed by a fraction that obtained sometimes in sanguine families to be hushed to sleeping. But oh, the inexhaustible regions of contemplation and watchfulness into which this baby's eyes were then only beginning to compose themselves to stare over his unconscious shoulder. It was a very Moloch of a baby, on whose instate altar the whole existence of this particular younger brother was offered up a daily sacrifice. Its personality may be said to have consisted of its never being quiet and in one place for 5 consecutive minutes, and never going to sleep when required. Tetterby's baby was as well known in the neighborhood as the postman or the potboy. It roved from doorstep to doorstep in the arms of little Johnny Tetterby, and lagged heavily at the rear of tropes of juveniles who followed the tumblers or the monkey, and came up all on one side a little too late for everything that was attractive, from Monday morning till Sunday night. When our childhood congregated to play, there was little Moloch making Johnny fag and toil. I don't know what they mean by that. Whenever Johnny desired to stay, little Moloch became fractious and would not remain. Whenever Johnny went out to go, Moloch was asleep and must be watched. Whenever Johnny wanted to stay home, Moloch was awake and must be taken out. Yet Johnny was verily persuaded that it was a faultless baby without its peer in the realm of England, and was quite content to catch meek glimpses of things in general from behind its skirts or over its limp flapping bonnets, and to go staggeringly about with it like a very little porter with a very large parcel, which was not directed to anybody and could never be delivered anywhere. The small man who sat in the small parlor making fruitless attempts to read his newspaper peacefully in the midst of this disturbance was the father of the family, and the chief of the firm descendant in the inscription over the little shop front by the name and title of A. Titterby & Co. Newsman. Indeed, strictly speaking, he was the only personage answering to the designation as Co. as a mere poetical abstraction, altogether baseless and impersonal. So, in total, in this little room, there's 2 boys on one bed, 2 more on another, an older boy and a baby, so 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids in total. This Tetterby has 6 kids in total, where the older one was basically forced to baby the baby. Okay. And they're talking about the dad now. And there is no co. So A. Tetterby probably was this person's father and company. There is no one else. It's just the Tetterbys. Okay. Tetterby was the corner shop in Jerusalem Buildings. There was a good show of literature in the window, chiefly consisting of pictured newspapers out of date and several pirates and footpads. Walking sticks, likewise, and marbles were included in the stock in trade. Let me turn those off for me as well. It had once extended to the light confectionery line, but it would seem that those elegancies of life were not in demand about Jerusalem Buildings, for nothing connected with that branch of commerce remained in the window, except a sort of small glass lantern containing a languish mass of bullseyes, which had melted in the summer and congealed in the winter until all hope of ever getting them out, or of eating them without eating the lantern too, was gone forever. Bullseyes, probably some kind of chocolate, because they said confection, so some type of like, maybe like a chocolate eye or something like that. Tetterby's had tried its hand at several things. It had once made a feeble little dart at the toy business, for in another lantern there was a heap of minute wax dolls, all sticking together upside down in the direct confusion, with their feet on the other's head, in a precipice of broken arms and legs at the bottom. It had made a move in the millinery direction, which a few dry, wiry bonnet shapes remained in a corner of the window to attest. It had fancied that a living might lie hidden in the tobacco trade, and had stuck up a representation of a native of each of the 3 integral portions of the British Empire in the act of consuming that fragrant weed, with a poetic legend attached, importing that united in one cause they sat and joked, one to tobacco, one took snuff, one smoked. But nothing seemed to have come of it, except flies. Time had been when it had put a forlorn trust in imitative jewelry, for in one pane of glass there was a card of cheap seals and another of pencil cases, and a mysterious black amulet of inscrutable intention labeled 9d. But to that hour Jerusalem Buildings had bought none of them. In short, Tetterby's had tried so hard to get a livelihood out of Jerusalem Buildings in one way or another, and appeared to have done so indifferently in all, that the best position in the firm was to evidently co as a bodiless creation, being untroubled by the vulgar inconveniences of hunger and thirst, being chargeable neither to the poor's rate nor the assessed taxes, and having no young family to provide for. Tetterby himself, however, in this little parlor, as already mentioned, having the presence of a young family impressed upon his mind in a manner too clamorous to be disregarded, or to comport in the quiet pursual of the newspaper, laid down his papers, wheeled in its distraction a few times round the parlor like an undecided carrier pigeon, made an ineffectual rush at 1 or 2 flying little figures in bed-grounds that skimmed past him, and then, bearing suddenly down upon the only unoffending member of the family, boxed the ears of little Moloch's nurse. What? Okay, so the dad getting agitated that the 4 kids that were in the beds that were getting out and running around and causing a muck, he couldn't capture any one of them. So instead of just trying to grab one of them, he goes and the oldest boy, the one that was taking care of the youngest, he goes and he spanks him The one that was literally asleep in a chair holding the baby, doing literally nothing. Okay. Okay. Hi, Bacon. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for the kiss, Bacon. How are you? Rough him up a bit. For no reason. Literally, the kid was not doing anything. Just in the chair holding the baby. Think to yourself, I'm doing good. You bad boy, said Mr. Tenderby. Haven't you any feelings for your poor father after the fatigues and anxieties of a hard winter's day since 5 o'clock in the morning? But must you wither his rest and corrode his latest intelligence with your wickedest tricks? Isn't it enough, sir, that your brother Dolphus is toiling and moiling in the fog and cold, and you rolling in the lap of luxury with the baby and everything you can wish for? Said Mr. Tedderby, heaping this up as a great climax of blessings. But must you make a wilderness of home and maniacs of your parents? Must you, Johnny? At each interrogation, Mr. Tedderby made a feint of boxing his ears again, but thought better of it, and held his hand. Oh, father, whimpered Johnny. When I wasn't doing anything, I'm sure, but taking care of Sally and getting her to sleep. Oh, father, I wish my little woman could go home. Could come home, said Mr. Tedderby, relenting and repenting. I only wish my little woman would come home. I ain't fit to deal with them. They make my head go round and get the better of me. Oh, Johnny, isn't it enough that your dear mother has provided you with that sweet sister, indicating Moloch? Isn't it enough that you were 7 boys? 7 boys. 7 boys before with that array of gal, and that your dear mother went through what she did go through on purpose that you might all have a little sister. But must you so behave yourselves so as to make my head swim? Okay, so there's 4 young ones, there's Johnny, and then there's an older one that's out working. 6 boys. Oh my god. I'm gonna drink some water. Time to get protection services. Honestly. My goodness. Softening more and more as his own tender feelings and those of his injured son were worked on, Mr. Tedderby concluded by embracing him and immediately breaking away to catch one of the real delinquents. A reasonably good start occurring, he succeeded after a short but small run and some rather severe cross-country road work under and over the bedsteads and in and out among the intricacies of the chairs, in capturing this infant whom he contingently punished and bore to bed. This example had a powerful and apparent mesmeric influence on him of the boots, who instantly fell into a deep sleep, though he had been, but a moment before, broad awake and in the highest possible feather. Nor was it lost upon the 2 young architects, who retired to bed in an adjoining closet with great privacy and speed. The comrade of the intercepted one also shrinking into his nest with similar discretion. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, I counted right. The comrade of the intercepted one also shrinking into his nest with similar discretion, Mr. Tedderby, when he paused for breath, found himself unexpectedly in a sense of peace. My little woman herself, said Mr. Tedderby, wiping his flushed face, could hardly have done it better. I only wish my little woman had to do it, I do indeed. Bear! Hi, Bear! Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, raiders. Welcome to Favorite Cafe. I'm Mukya. I'm a siren of the necrotic affliction, and I run the cafe. If you guys would like a drink, we could do tea, boba, coffee, hot cocoa. However, the cake is extra. How was your stream, Bear? How was 14? Hopefully it went well. Hi, Karnak. Welcome in. Mwah. How's your night? I'm gonna go ahead and get back into the story, but Bear, if you need to raid and run, I understand. But if one other can hang out, you're more than welcome to. Mr. Tetterby sought upon his screen for a passage appropriate to be impressed upon his children's mind on the occasion, and read the following. It is undoubted fact that all remarkable men have had remarkable mothers, and had respected them in the afterlife as the best friends. Think of your own remarkable mother, my boys, said Mr. Tetterby, and know her value when she is still among you. He sat down again in his chair by the fire and composed himself, cross-legged over his newspaper. Lost Me! Hi, Lost Me, welcome in. 14 was fun. Holiday events, quest, and shenanigans. Get myself something to drink, but glad to listen. Yeah, get cozy, get a drink, and share some with us. Let anybody, I don't care who it is, get out of bed again, said Tetterby with a general proclamation, delivered in a very soft-hearted manner. An astonishment will be the portion of that respected complimentary, which expression Mr. Tetterby selected from his screen. Johnny, my child, take care of your only sister, Sally, for she's the brightest gem that ever sparkled on your early brow. Johnny sat down in the little stool and devotedly crushed himself beneath the weight of Moloch. Ah, what a gift that baby is to you, Johnny, said his father, and how thankful you ought to be. It is not generally known, Johnny, he said, now referring to the screen again, but it is a fact ascertained by accurate calculations that the following immense percentage of babies never attain to 2 years old. That is to say, oh, don't, father, please, cried Johnny. I can't bear it when I think of Sally. Mr. Tetterby desisting. Johnny, with a profound sense of his trust, wiped his eyes and hushed his sister. Your brother Dolphus said to his father, poking the fire, is late tonight, Johnny. We'll come home in a lump of ice. What's got your precious mother? His mother and Dolphus too, father, exclaimed Johnny. I think. You're right, returned his father, listening. Yes, that's the footsteps of my little woman. In the process of induction by which Mr. Tetterby had come to the conclusion that his wife was a little woman was his own secret, she would have made 2 editions of himself very easily. Considered as an individual, she was rather remarkable for being robust and portly, but considered with reference to her husband, her dimensions became significant. Nor did they assume a less imposing proportion when studied with reference to the size of her 7 sons, who were but diminutive. In the case of Sally, however, Mrs. Tetterby had asserted herself at last as nobody knew better than the victim Johnny, who weighed and measured that exact idol every hour of the day. Okay, I see what they mean. So they're saying all the boys take after the father, who are lanky, if not tall, in some way, shape, or form, but their mother is very short, robust and portly, so she's short and round, much like their baby girl, Sally. That's cute. Mrs. Tetterby, who had been marketing and carried a basket, threw back her bonnet and shawl, and sitting down, fatigue, commanded Johnny to bring his sweet charge to her straight away for a kiss. Johnny, having complied, had gone back to his stool and again crushed himself. Master Adolphus Tetterby, who had by this time unwound his torso out of a prismatic comforter, apparently interminable, requested the same favor. Johnny, having again complied and again gone back to his stool, and again crushed himself. Mr. Tetterby, struck by a sudden thought, preferred the same claim on his own parental part, The satisfaction of his third desire completely exhausted the sacrifice, who had already breath enough left to go back to his stool, crush himself again, and pant to his relations. "Whatever you do, Johnny," said Mrs. Tetterby, shaking her head, "take care of her, or never look your mother in the face again." "Nor your brother," said Adolphus. "Nor your father, Johnny," added Mr. Tetterby. Johnny, much affected by this conditional renunciation of him, looked down at Moloch's eyes to see they were all right so far, and skillfully patted her back, which was uppermost, and rocked her with his foot. "Are you wet, Dolphus, my boy?" said his father. "Come and take my chair and dry yourself." "No, father, thank ye," said Dolphus, smoothing himself down with his hands. "I ain't very wet, I don't think. Does my face shine much, father?" "Well, it does look waxy, my boy," returned Tetterby. "It's the weather, father," said Adolphus, polishing his cheeks on the worn sleeve of his jacket. "What with rain and sleet and wind and snow and fog, my face gets quite brought out to a rush sometimes, and shines it does. I doubt it, though." Connor, thank you for the resub. Okay, let's go ahead and let's add a kiss really quick. Got a British slang. Of course. Hi, Nexel. Welcome and how are you? Alright, we're gonna do like a bluish purple. Do a bluish purple for Kono. Let's see. Kono, you're gonna put yours right here. Right over my heart. Oh, there you go. There you go, Kono. Perfect. Alright. Doing good. Hi guys, help me. Hi Kono baby, welcome in. How have you been? We are reading, what is the book called? The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. We're on chapter 2. If you want to follow along with us, just do book. That's the one. There's the link right there if you'd like to follow along with us. We are on chapter 2. Thank you for the head pat. Master Adolphus was also in the newspaper line of life, being employed by a more thriving firm than his father and co. to vend newspapers at a railway station, where his chubby little person, like the shabbily disguised Cupid, and his shrill little voice, he was not much more than 10 years old, were as well known as the hoarse panting of the locomotives running in and out. His juvenility might have been at some loss for a harmless outlet in this early application to traffic, but for a fortunate discovery he made a means of entertaining himself and of dividing the long days into stages of interests without neglecting business. This ingenious invention, remarkable, like many great discoveries, for its simplicity, consisted in varying the first vowel of the word paper and substituting in its stead a different periods of the day, all the other vowels in grammatical succession. Thus, before daylight in the winter time, he went to and fro his little oilskin cap, and his big comforter pierced the heavy air with the cry of "morning paper," which was about an hour before noon changed to "morning pepper," which at about 2 changed to "morning piper," which in a couple of hours changed to "morning pulper," and so decided with the sun into "evening pupper," to the great relief and comfort of his young gentleman's spirit. Miss Tetterby. Nobody fallen asleep. Have a great New Year's Eve. Good night, Ariel. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out. Rest well. Evening puppers, right? Imagine when they still had people standing in the corners selling papers. You'd hear somebody saying, "Evening puppa, evening puppa." That'd be so funny. I'd be like, "You got puppies? Bro, you got puppies? Let's go." That'd be so funny. Birdie! Hi, beautiful. Welcome in. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome to Favorite Cafe. I'm Mukia. I'm a siren with a necrotic affliction, and I run a cafe. If you guys would like a drink, we do tea, boba, coffee, hot cocoa. However, the cake is extra. How are you, lovely? How was stream? Lenore. Oh, sorry. Lior Kaguya. Nicholas Great. And Tamaneuver. Thank you so much for the follows. Welcome in. How was your stream, Birdie? You did some ASMR tonight. How do you like your guys? If you do not follow Birdie and you haven't given them a follow yet, make sure you give them a follow. I'm gonna drop them one more time because Birdie recently got their new model. They debuted it yesterday, so go check them out. Go check out their new model. Congratulate them. They look so good. I love your model, Birdie. It is so pretty. So pretty. Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh, it is New Year's Eve now. Thank you for the makeup change. Thank you so much. Josie Bun, thank you for the subscription. Enjoy those emotes. And as always, welcome to Favorite Cafe. Wizardry, welcome in. Aranama, thank you for the hair color. And Katsum, thank you so much for the follow. And Polonia, thanks so much for gifting a sub over to Birdie. So happy with how it turned out. It looks so good. It looks so good. I know you had a long stream though, Birdie, because I know you did RV there yet. First before you did your ASMR. So if you need to read and run, I completely understand. But if you want to lurking hang out, you're more than welcome to. Just make sure to do after stream care. We are reading a story right now. We are reading a book called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. It's really good so far. I'm gonna be having like keys. Thank you. Okie dokie, Birdie. Have a good one. Rest well. And thank you again so much for the raid. Proficient in Irish and Scottish accents. I can vouch for that. Are they? Oh, I can't wait to hear them. I don't think I've heard Birdie do Scottish or Irish. I would love to hear them do it. I bet it's amazing. Top notch. 10 out of 10. Never heard the Irish accent. Namo, we're gonna have to hear it together then. This is just a fact. And thank you for the daily check-in. Horrible at accents. I can't physically do it. No, I believe in you. The Birdie is an amazing shopkeep in the game. You guys, if you don't know, me and Birdie both were voice actresses for a game that's on Steam called Birdie was the shopkeep and I play the warrioress, a mid-range spear fighter. Hendies, thank you so much for the follow. If you guys haven't checked out the game, make sure you go check them out. It is available now on Steam and it is so fun to play. It is a roguelike or roguelite? Probably roguelite. Game where you can pick like your character's class. You can start off as a fighter, you can go wizard, you can go archer. So fun. So happy for us. I know, I'm so happy for us too. Thank you for the hype train. Holy shit, thank you so much for the hype train, guys. Thank you. Unlock both your characters. You did you? Well, the shopkeep I think is always there, but oh my god, you got to see my character? That's exciting. Hopefully you enjoy the game, Metallic. How do you like it so far? I'm glad you like it. Hi, Kentos. Welcome in. Oh, did I miss your pops? Hold on. Let me go ahead and do my redeems really quick. Also has the drunk character. Oh yeah, I forgot. You got the shopkeep and the I can't remember the name of the class. But yeah, it's somehow both kind of difficult but also really chill. Right? It's difficult because you have to really think about like how you're going to play the character. But it's also like once you kind of like in it, you're just like, I'm in it. You know what I mean? It's so good. Good morning, Emma. How are you? DMs? Okay, let me take a look. Let me check this DMs really quick. That looks so good. Oh my god, Valvera. That is beautiful. Oh, I love that big thing of coral right there. The fishy. Oh, I love that so much. That's gonna look so good. Oh my god. Hi, Arkentas. Happy New Year. I think the class is tour. That's what's called tourist. Just like normal birdie. Wow. Are you saying that birdie, our birdie boba, is a wine auntie? I can see it. I can see it. Intolerant to alcohol. So you're a lemonade auntie. Got it. Okay, you get sugar high. And then powers up for a few seconds. That sounds amazing. Oh my god, I can't wait to unlock them. To add the last seconds details. The green grass auntie. What is it called? The matcha uni. Is it uni? No. What is it? Is it uni? Uni or what is the word? I'm heading off to bed. Good night. Good night, Ruben. Have a good rest. I think so. I could so see that. That's so funny. Have a good night, Ruben. Hi, Kyon. Welcome in. Thank you for the daily check-ins. Want me to add in last second details? I will DM you after stream, Valvera, if I can think of anything. If you're okay with that. That way you can kind of take a break and you don't have to worry about it for tonight. But yeah. Brady, I don't want to keep you because I know you said that you wanted to go get some lurkies and get some sleeps. But thank you for coming in and thank you again so much for the raid. Go have a good rest and take care of yourself. Enjoy your time. Thank you so much, Brady. Adore you so much, girl. That's okay. Okay, perfect. We are reading a story right now called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. It is a story that Charles Dickens wrote before he did The Christmas Carol. And it starts off with this character named Mr. Redlaw talking to a group of people that work with him. And they're setting up holiday decorations, Christmas decorations in his house. He is a chemist. He is a man of science, and he's a professor at a university in the area, England, obviously. So one of the things that we learn as soon as the people that work for him are out, when they leave him alone, he is visited by a specter that is a very ghostly version of himself. And the specter makes a deal with him. The specter says, in exchange for removing your past memories of being hurt, of having to go through difficult times, of anything that made you sad or upset, I will remove those memories. You will no longer remember those. But in exchange, you will lose all of your knowledge that you've accumulated to become a professor, to become a chemist. And so the chemist, Mr. Redlaw, takes the deal. And as soon as he takes the deal, the specter disappears. And that's when Mr. Redlaw comes into contact with the boy, who is very obviously living on the streets. He is thin, he is sickly, he looks crazed in some way, shape, or form. His feet are not covered, and it's midwinter, so it's freezing cold outside. And his feet are dirty and bleeding, and when Mr. Redlaw looks upon him, he feels nothing. He has no emotion, no desire to help this person, just that the boy is asking for his maid, and so Mr. Redlaw leads the boy to where the maid will be. And that's where it ends with Mr. Redlaw. Now we are talking about the Titterbees. The Titterbees are Mr. Redlaw's the people that work for him, so his maid, his butler, and I guess his porter, who were all related to each other. And the maid is mother to 7 children. The oldest is Johnny, and he takes care of his youngest sister, Sally. And the other ones are all asleep in their bed. They were running amok, but the father, Mr. Titterbee, basically caught one of them, taught him a lesson, and the others witnessed it, and they're just like, well, I don't want that to be me. So they all went to sleep when they were supposed to. And now the rest of the family, Mrs. Titterbee, Adolphus, which is the butler, and the older son, they all go back to the house, and that's where we are right now. Sloth, thank you for the forehead kiss. Alright, resting for the rest of the night. Got myself too excited, now I'm shaking. Yes, please relax. Always a pleasure. Okay, let's go ahead and get back into it. Mrs. Titterbee, his lady mother, who has been sitting with her bonnet and shawl thrown back, as Forsyte, thoughtfully turning her wedding ring round and round upon her finger, now rose, and divesting herself of her out-of-door attire, began to lay the cloth for supper. Ah, dear me, dear me, dear me, says Mrs. Titterbee. That's the way the world goes. Which is the way the world goes, my dear? Asked Mr. Titterbee, looking around. Oh, nothing, said Mrs. Titterbee. Mr. Titterbee elevated his eyebrows, folded his newspaper afresh, and carried his eyes up it, and down it, and across it, but was wandering in his attention, and was not reading it. Mrs. Titterbee, at the same time, laid the cloth, but rather as if she were punishing the table than preparing the family dinner, hitting it unnecessarily hard with the knives and forks, slapping it with the plates, denting it with the salt cellar, and coming heavily down upon it with the loaf. Ah, dear me, dear me, dear me, said Mrs. Titterbee. That's the way the world goes. My duck, returned her husband, looking around again. You said that before. Which is the way the world goes? Oh, nothing, said Mrs. Titterbee. Sophia, remonstrated her husband. You said that before, too. Well, I say it again, if you like, returned Mrs. Titterbee. Oh, nothing, there. And again, if you like. Oh, nothing, there. And again, if you like. Oh, nothing, now, then. Mr. Titterbee brought his eye to bear upon the partner of his bosom, and said in mild astonishment, My little woman, what has put you out? I'm sure I don't know, she retorted. Don't ask me. Who said I was put out at all? I never did. Mr. Titterbee gave up the pursuit of his newspaper as a bad job, and, taking a slow walk across the room, with his hands behind him and his shoulders raised, his gait accordingly perfectly with the resignation of his manner, addressed himself and of his 2 eldest offspring. Your supper will be ready in a minute, Dolphus, said Mr. Titterbee. Your mother has been out in the wet to the cook shop to buy it. It was very good of your mother to do so. You shall get some supper too, very soon, Johnny. Your mother's pleased with you, my man, for being so attentive to your precious sister. Mrs. Titterby, without any remark but with decided substance of her animosity towards the table, finished her preparations and took from her ample basket a substantial slab of hot peas pudding wrapped in paper, and a basin covered with the saucer, which, on being uncovered, sent forth an odor so agreeable that the 3 pair of eyes in the 2 beds opened wide and fixed themselves upon the banquet. Mr. Titterby, without regarding this tacit invitation to be seated, stood and repeated slowly, "Yes, yes, your supper will be ready in a minute. Dolphus, your mother went out in the wet to the cook shop to buy it. It was very good of your mother to do so," until Mrs. Titterby, who had been exhibiting sundry tokens of contrition behind him, caught him round the neck and wept. "Oh, Dolphus," said Mrs. Titterby, "how could I go and behave so?" This reconciliation affected Dolphus the younger and Johnny to that degree that they both, as with one accord, raised a dismal cry, which had the effect of immediately shutting up the round eyes in the beds, and utterly rounding the 2 remaining little Titterbys, just then stealing in from the adjoining closet to see what was going on in the eating way. "I am sure, Dolphus," sobbed Mrs. Titterby, coming home, "I had no more idea than any child unborn." Mr. Titterby seemed to dislike this figure of speech and observed, "Say then the babe, my dear." "Had no more idea than the baby," said Mrs. Titterby. "Johnny, don't look at me, but look at her, or she'll fall out of your lap and be killed, and then you'll die in agonies of a broken heart, and serves you right." "No more idea. I hadn't had that, darling, of being cross when I came home, but somehow, Dolphus—" Mrs. Titterby paused, and again turned her wedding ring round and round her finger. "I see," said Mr. Titterby. "I understand. My little woman was put out. Hard times and hard weather and hard work make it trying now and then. I see. Bless your soul. No wonder. Dolph, my man," continued Mr. Titterby, exploring the basin with a fork, "here's your mother had been brought at the cook's shop, besides please pudding, a whole knuckle of a lovely roast leg of pork, with lots of crackling left upon it, and with seasoning, gravy, mustard, quite unlimited. Hand in your plate, my boy, and begin while it's simmering." "Maddie and Aaron, thanks so much for the follow. Welcome in." Master Adolphus, needing no second summons, received his portions with eyes rendered moist by appetite, and withdrawing to this particular stool, fell upon his supper tooth and nail. Johnny was not forgotten, but received his rations on bread, lest he should, in a flush of gravy, trickle any on the baby. He was required, for similar reasons, to keep his pudding, when not on active service, in his pocket. What? Pudding? Probably not the same kind of pudding that I'm thinking of. It's not like Jello pudding. It's probably something else. But imagine pudding in your pocket, and it's like goopy pudding. That would be so funny. Oh my gosh. I think I know what sort of pudding. It's probably some kind of like what's the word? Like a bread. Yeah, boiled bread pudding. Yeah, so it's probably just like some type of bread. That's what I was thinking. Have a good look, Valvera. Enjoy your rest. There might have been more pork on the knucklebone, which knucklebones the carver and the cook shop had assuredly not forgotten in carving for previous customers. But there was no stint of seasoning, and that is an accessory dreamily suggesting pork and pleasantly cheating the sense of taste. The peas pudding too, the gravy and mustard, like the eastern rose in respect of the nightingale, if they were not absolutely pork, had lived near it, so, upon the whole, there was the flavour of a middle-sized pig, It was irresistible to the Titterbys in bed, who, though professing to slumber peacefully, crawled out when unseen by their parents and silently appealed to their brothers for any gastronomic token of fraternal affection. They had not a heart of heart, presenting scraps in return, and resulted that a party of light skirmishes and nightgowns were careening around the parlor all through supper, which harassed Mr. Titterby exceedingly, and once or twice imposed upon him the necessity of a charge, before which these guerrilla troops retired in all directions and in great confusion. Mrs. Titterby did not enjoy her supper. There seemed to be something on her mind. At one time she laughed without reason, and another time she cried without reason. And at last she laughed and cried together in a manner that was so very unreasonable that her husband was confounded. "My little woman," said Mr. Titterby, "if the world goes that way, it appears to go wrong way, and to choke you." "Give me a drop of water," said Mrs. Titterby, struggling with herself. "Don't speak to me for the present, or take any notice of me. Don't do it." Mr. Titterby, having administered the water, turned suddenly on the unlucky Johnny, who was full of sympathy, and demanded why he was wallowing there in gluttony and idleness instead of coming forward with the baby, that the sight of her might revive his mother. Johnny immediately approached, borne down by its weight. But Mrs. Titterby, holding out her hand to signify that she was not in a condition to bear that trying appeal of her feelings, he was interdicted by advancing another inch on pain of perpetual hatred from all his dearest connections, and accordingly retired to his stool again and crushed himself as before. This poor kid. After a pause, Mrs. Titterby said that she was better now, and began to laugh. "My little woman," said her husband dubiously, "are you quite sure you're better? Or are you, Sophia, about to break out a fresh direction?" "Dang, right? They keep threatening this poor little Johnny that they're gonna be like, something's gonna happen to the baby and you're gonna wish to die. Everyone's gonna hate you if you try to do this thing." It's just one thing after the next with this poor kid. Poor Johnny. Poor little Johnny. Ugh. "No, Dolphus, no," replied his wife. "I am quite myself." With that, settling her hair and pressing the palms of her hands upon her eyes, she laughed again. "What a wicked fool I was to think so for a moment," said Mrs. Titterby. "Come nearer, Dolphus, and let me ease my mind, and tell you what I mean. Let me tell you all about it." Mr. Titterby bringing his chair closer, Mrs. Titterby laughed again, gave him a hug, and wiped her eyes. "You know, Dolphus, my dear," said Mrs. Titterby, "that when I was single, I might have given myself away in several directions. At one time 4 after me at once. 2 of them were sons of Mars." "We're all sons of Mars, my dear," said Mrs. Titterby, "jointly with Pars." "I don't mean that," replied his wife. "I meant soldiers. Surgeons." "Oh," said Mr. Titterby. "Well, Dolphus, I'm sure I never think of such things now, to regret them, and I'm sure I've got a good husband, and would do as much to prove that I was so fond of him as any little woman in the world," said Mr. Titterby. "Very good, very good." If Mr. Titterby had been 10 feet high, he would have not expressed a gentler consideration for Mrs. Titterby's fairy-like stature, and if Miss Titterby had been 2 feet high, she could not have felt it more appropriately her due. "Hi, Lior. Hi, Ivan." The dough bound tightly in a muslin cloth for some other cloth and boiled for hours in hot water. Huh. I wonder what it tastes like. Soke! Hi, Soke. It's a cozy time. It is. How are you, fellow green tuber? Give you a quick shout out. How are you? How was stream earlier? That's right. Oh, I remember you playing. I was like, I remember playing that like years ago. How was it? Do you go by Soge? Soge, right? I think so. Arcant 30 stream streak. Holy shit, Arcantos. Thank you. That's very splendid. Very splendid indeed, my dear. Soldy Spades, thanks for the follow. How are you? How's your night? Yeah. We are reading a book right now called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. If you'd like to follow along, you're more than welcome to. Just do exclamation point book like this, and you can get the link. It is off of Gutenberg. Otherwise, if you just want to lay back and listen, you're more than welcome to. I missed a Silketta stream. I got told to check you out by a friend earlier today. You should. Yeah, go give them a follow. They're very, very cool. Diabolical Dreams. And Chaos Coder, thank you so much for the follows. How are you? Be telling me. Sit. Sit. Who sit? But like I said, we are reading right now. It's kind of a scary story. So if you guys would like to get comfortable and just listen, you're more than welcome to. We're reading. The tree kind of blocks it, but it's over here. It's called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. It's about a man named Mr. Redlaw who's a chemist, and he makes a deal with a ghost that tells him, in exchange for all the knowledge he accumulated as being a professor and a chemist, you will lose that, but you will also lose the memories that cause you pain and suffering, that of which mostly the woman that he was in love with, he forgets all about her. But because of that, because of the loss of memory of those painful past memories, right? He also loses his empathy. Integrate him so to catch one soon. You should. Josie, thank you for the forehead kiss. We are building Legos while listening to your soothing voice. Enjoy the Legos. RJ, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Okay, I'm gonna get back into it, okay? Alright. But you see, Dolphus, said Mrs. Titterby. Man's form, thank you for the kiss. Oh, if you guys are wondering why I have all these kisses and bites on me, it's because if you subscribe, I will add a kiss mark to myself. Oh, it's not showing for some reason. Is it this one? Yes. That's the one. If you do one sub, I will add a kiss mark to myself. For 5 subs, I will do 5 minutes of guided meditations. What in a keyboard right now? Ooh. Necro! Hi, Necro. Welcome in. Thanks so much for the resub. You're so wonderful. I feel so comfy and safe and warm watching your streams. I love you to the moon and stars and back. Aw, thank you so much, Necro. I'm glad you're comfy, especially on ASMR nights. Thank you so much for letting me know. Your streams are so cozy. Are they? I'm glad. I'm glad you have fun. I subbed earlier. Did you, Josie? I didn't. Did you sub or did you get a sub? Keyboard right now. What kind of keyboard? Mechanical? Building Legos. So cozy. I subbed. Did I miss it? Did I miss your sub? I did. I think the last one that I added, I need to add a couple. I need to add yours and I need to add Birdie's. Okay, let's go ahead and let's add those. You're so right. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, let's see, Josie. Josie, we're gonna do a bite. Let's do this one. And we will put it right here. I'll put it on my shoulder. If someone can do me a favor. Actually, no, I got it. It's fine. It works like this. Alright, there you go, Jessie. Let's see. We need to add one for Birdie. Let's see. Birdie for sure would do kisses. We're gonna get a blue one for Birdie. Because her colors are like blue and purple. I think a blue would make more sense in this sense. We'll put it higher on my forehead, not on my... right there. Birdie would definitely do a forehead kiss. Right there. Perfect. And let's see. I need one for Necro. Yeah, let's get Necro. Kono, did we do yours? I don't remember if I did yours, Kono. Mechanical keyboard for my friend's birthday. For your friend's birthday? Right after the raid, so I got buried. That makes sense. Hi, Surya. I couldn't celebrate because I felt ill, so I say it now. Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? Hope you're feeling better. Being sicky is the worst. I always feel like when I'm sick, when I don't feel good, I always feel like I can't do half as many things as I want to. You know? Let's see. Let's do purple. Purple for Necro. Do a purple bite. Necro went in for... I'm gonna put it on my chin. Just a little nibble. Right there. Perfect. Let's see. Did I miss any more? Because I think the last one we did. I owe one for Kono. That's right. Thank you for the forehead. Thank you for the head pat. The clicky clicky. Oh, I love the clicky clickies. My keyboard doesn't clicky clicky too much. I think. Maybe it does. See, Kono. Kono is definitely a biter. That's not how you spell that. We will do green. We'll do green for Kono. Oh, we already have a green. You know what? That's fine. Kono. Oh, you know what? No. Kono is definitely a kisser. I call them BB, so Kono BB. We can do a green kiss. And I know exactly where I'm going to put this. I just have to change the size. We're going to put it on my ear. We'll put it right here. I just got to not blink. Because then it's going to... There you go. Perfect. There you go. Oh my gosh. We got so many today. You guys are crazy. Thank you for all the subs and stuff. You guys are crazy. No coming. Thanks for the follow. And Pyrog, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. Can my sub mark be a kiss? I think my last one was a bite. You want to do a kiss? Yeah. We can change it to a kiss, of course. Let me just... We'll look all the others. We'll do another kiss. Okay. We did purple. We did purple. We'll put this one then. creamy build. Oh, it's gonna be like soft. That's gonna be so nice. Thank you for the health Petzelge. Ray! Hi, Ray. Had a good holiday. Work has been absolutely ridiculous. I've just been sleeping early lately. Well, hopefully it's not been too bad. It's been so long I forgot. Oh, I forgot to even order. Oh, you gotta order. Thorid, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Velvera, you want a good girl? Yeah, of course. You want a good girl. Okay. Velvera, you are a good girl. Velvera, you are a very, very good girl. Hold on. Let me. Velvera is a very good girl. Velvera is a very talented girl. Velvera is a very sweet girl. Velvera, you are a good girl. Good, good girl, Velvera. Good, good girl. Now go get some sleep. Get under your blankets. Get nice and warm and comfortable. And drift off to get some good rest. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. You get some good sleep, okay? Good night. Mwah. You're so cozy right now? Good. You better be. And so I kind of get more points for a good girl right here. I can't control the points, unfortunately. That is something that is because you are a subscriber, you do get more points. Okay. And go ahead and bring all this back out. Okay. That's the plan. Okay. Alright. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get nice and cozy with you guys, you know? I'm gonna get like all comfy cozy. I am going to change really quick. And I'm even going to no, I'll leave my hair down. I think my hair down is very comfy. So, let me adjust some of these really quick. We'll put this one right here. There it is. I'll put this one right here. And I know I have one on my tummy. So you guys can see it. I'll put it right here on my arm. Okay. All right. Let's get back into the story. Now that we're nice and cozy and comfortable. Especially if I fall asleep into a voice. True. If you do, you'll still get those points. That's very true. Alright. But you see, Dolphus, said Mrs. Titterby, this being Christmas time, when all people who can make holiday, when all people who have got money like to spend some, I did somehow get a little out of sorts when I was in the streets just now. There were so many things to behold. Such delicious things to eat, such fine things to look at, such delightful things to have, and there was so much calculating and calculating necessary before I durst lay out a sixpence for the commonest thing. And the basket was so large and wanted so much in it. My stock of money was so small and would do such a little way. You hate me, don't you, Dolphus? Not quite, said Mr. Titterby, as yet. Well, good night, Endless. And copy reel, thanks to the follow, welcome in. Well, I will tell you the whole truth, pursued his wife penitently, and then perhaps you will. I felt all this so much when I was trudging about in the cold, and when I saw a lot of other calculating faces and large baskets trudging about too, that I began to think whether I mightn't have done it better and been happier if I hadn't. Her wedding ring went round and round again, and Mrs. Titterby shook her downcast head as she turned it. I see, said her husband quietly. If you hadn't married at all, or if you had married somebody else. Yes, said Mrs. Titterby, that's really what I thought. Do you hate me now, Dolphus? Why, no, said Mr. Titterby. I don't find that I do, as yet. Mrs. Titterby gave him a thankful kiss and went on. I began to hope you wouldn't now, Dolphus, though I'm afraid I haven't told you the worst. I can't think what came over me. I don't know whether it was ill or mad or what I was, but I couldn't call up anything that seemed to bind us to each other or to reconcile me to my fortune. All the pleasures and enjoyments that we had had, they seemed so poor and insignificant. I hated them. I could have trotted on them, and I could think of nothing else except on being poor and the number of mouse there were at home. Well, well, my dear, Mr. Titterby, shaking her hand encouragingly. That's truth, after all. We are poor, and we are a number of mouths at home here. Ah, but, Dolph, cried his wife, laying her hand upon his neck, my good, kind, patient fellow, when I had been at home a very little while, how different, ah, Dolph, dear, how different it was. I felt as if there was a rush of recollection to me, all at once, that softened my hard heart and filled it up till it was bursting. All our struggles for a livelihood, all our cares and wants since we have been married, all the times of sickness, all the hours of watching we have been or would have been any other wife or mother I am. I missed a line. We have ever had, and one another, or by the children, seemed to speak to me and say that they had made us one, and that I never might have been, or could have been, or would have been any other wife than the mother I am. Then, the cheap enjoyments that I could have trodden on so cruelly got to be so precious to me, oh, so precious and dear, that I couldn't bear to think of how much I had wronged them. And I said, and say again 100 times, how could I ever behave so, Dolphus? How could I ever have the heart to do it? The good woman, quite carried away by her honest tenderness and remorse, was weeping with all her heart when she started up with a scream and ran behind her husband. Her cry was so terrified that the children started from their sleep and from their beds and clung about her, nor did their gaze belie her voice as she pointed to a pale man in a black cloak who had come into the room. Look at that man. Look there. What does he want? My dear, returned her husband, I'll ask him if you let me go. What's the matter? How you shake? I saw him in the streets. When I was out just now, he looked at me and stood near me. I'm afraid of him. Why afraid of him? Why? I don't know. Stop, husband, for he was going towards the stranger. She had one hand pressed on her forehead and one upon her breast, and there was a peculiar fluttering all over her and a hurried, unsteady motion of her eyes, as if she had lost something. "Oh, you're ill, my dear." "What is it that is going from me again?" she muttered in a low voice. "What is this that is going away?" Then she abruptly answered, "Ill? No, I'm quite well," and stood looking vacantly at the floor. Her husband, who had not been altogether free from her infection of her fear at first, and whom the present strangeness of her manner did not tend to reassure, addressed himself to the pale visitor in the black cloak, who stood still and whose eyes were bent upon the ground. What may be your pleasure, sir?" he asked with us. "I fear that my coming in unperceived," returned the visitor, "has alarmed you, but you were talking and did not hear me." "My little woman says, perhaps you heard her say it," returned Mr. Titterby, "that it's not the first time you've alarmed her tonight." "I am sorry for it. I remember to have observed her for a few months only in the street. I had no intention of frightening her." As he raised his eyes in speaking, she raised hers. It was extraordinary to see what dread she had of him, and with what dread he observed it, and yet how narrowly and closely. "My name," he said, "is Redlaw. I come from the old college hard by. A young gentleman who is a student there lodges in your house, does he not?" "Mr. Denham?" said Titterby. "Yes." It was a natural action, and so slight as to be hardly noticeable, but the little man, before speaking again, passed his hand across his forehead and looked quickly around the room, as though he were sensible of some change in the atmosphere. The chemist, instantly transferring to him the look of dread he had directed towards the wife, stepped back, and his face turned paler. "The gentleman's room," said Titterby, "is upstairs, sir. There is more convenient private entrance, but as you have come in here, it will save your going out into the cold if you'll take this little staircase," showing one communicating directly with the parlor, "and go up to him that way, if you wish to see him." "Yes, I wish to see him," said the chemist. "Can you spare a light?" The watchfulness of his haggard look and the implacable distrust that darkened it seemed to trouble Mr. Titterby. He paused and looked fixedly at him in return, stood for a moment or so, like a man stupefied or fascinated. At length he said, "I'll light you, sir, if you follow me." "No," replied the chemist. "I don't wish to be attended or announced to him. He does not expect me. I would rather go alone. Please to give me the light if you can spare it, and I'll find the way." In the quickness of his expression of the desire, and in taking the candle from the newsman, he touched him on the breast, withdrawing his hand hastily, almost as though he had wounded him by accident, for he did not know in what part of himself this new power resided, or how it was communicated, or how the manner of its reception varied in different persons. He turned and ascended the stair, but when he reached the top, he stopped and looked down. The wife was standing in the same place, twisting her ring round and round upon her finger. The husband, with his head bent forward on his breast, was musing heavily and sullenly. The children, still clustering around the mother, gazed timidly after the visitor and nestled together when they saw him looking around. "Come," said the father roughly, "there's enough of this. Get to bed here." "The place is inconvenient and small enough," the mother said, "without you. Get to bed." The whole brood, scared and sad, crept away, little Johnny and the baby lagging last. The mother, glancing contemptuously around the sordid room and tossing from her the fragments of her meal, stopped on the threshold of her task, clearing the table, and sat down, pondering idly and dejectedly. The father betook himself to the chimney corner and impatiently racked the small fire together, bent over it, as he would monopolize it all. They did not interchange a word. The chemist, paler than before, stole upward like a thief, looking back upon the change below, and dreading equally to go on or return. "What have I done?" he said confusedly. "What am I going to do?" "To be the benefactor of mankind," he thought he heard a voice reply. He looked round, but there was nothing there, and a passage now shutting out a little parlor from his view. He went on, directing his eyes before him as the way he went. "It is only since last night," he muttered gloomily, "that I have remained shut up. And yet all things are strange to me. I am strange to myself. I am here as in a dream. What interest have I in this place, or in any place that I can bring to my remembrance? My mind is going blind." There was a door before him, and he knocked at it. Being invited by a voice within to enter, he complied. "Is that my kind Nass?" said the voice. "But I need not ask her. There is no one else to come here." It spoke cheerfully, though in a languid tone, and attracted his attention to a young man lying on a couch, drawn before the chimney piece, with the back towards the door, a meagre scanty stove, pinched and hollowed like a sick man's cheeks, and bricked into the center of a hearth that it could scarcely warm, contained the fire, to which his face was turned. Being so near the windy housetop, it wasted quickly with the busy sound, and the burning ashes dropped down fast. "They clink when they shoot out here," said the student, smiling. "So, according to the gossips, they are not coffins, but purses. I shall be well and rich yet, some day, if it please God, and shall live perhaps to love a daughter Millie, in remembrance to the kindest nature and gentlest heart of the world." He put up his hand as if expecting her to take it, but, being weakened, he lay still with his face resting on his other hand, and did not turn round. "Oh, Bacon, thank you for the kiss. Gandalf the Gold, Riv, and Ulfric, thanks so much for the follows. Welcome in. How are you, sweetlings? How's your night? Are you doing well? The chemist glanced around the room, and the students' books and papers piled upon the table in a corner, where they, Dark Horizon, thank you for the follow, where they and his extinguished reading lamp, now prohibited and put away, told of the attentive hours that had gone before this illness, and perhaps caused it. At such signs of his old health and freedom as the out-of-door attire that hung idle on the wall, at those remembrance of other and less solitary scenes, the little miniatures upon the chimney-piece, and the drawing of home at that token of his emulation, perhaps in some sort of his personal attachment to, the framed engraving of himself, the looker on. The time had been only yesterday when not one of these objects in its remotest association of interest with the living figure before him would have been lost on Redlaw. Now they were but objects, or in any gleam of such conception shot upon him, it perplexed and not enlightened him as he stood looking round with a dull wonder. The student, recalling the thin hand which had remained so long untouched, raised himself on the couch and turned his head. "Mr. Redlaw!" he exclaimed, and started up, Redlaw put out his arm. Do not come near to me. I will sit here. Remain you where you are. He sat down in a chair near the door, and having glanced at the young man standing leaning with his hand upon the couch, spoke with his eyes averted towards the ground. I heard, by an accident, by what accident is no matter, that one of my class was ill and solitary. I received no other description of him than he lived in the street. Beginning my inquiries at the first house in it, I have found him. I have been ill, sir, returned the student, not merely with the modest hesitation, but with the kind of awe of him. But I'm greatly better. An attack of fever, of the brain, I believe, has weakened me. I am much better. I cannot say I have been solitary in my illness, or I should forget the ministering hand that has been near to me. You are speaking of the keeper's wife, said Redlaw. Yes, the student bent his head, as if rendered her some silent homage. The chemist, in whom there was a cold, monotonous apathy, which rendered him more like a marble image on the tomb of a man who had started from his dinner yesterday at the first mention of a student's case, than the breathing man himself, glanced again at the student leaning with his hand upon the couch, and looked upon the ground, and in the air, as if for light for his blinded mind. I remember your name, he said, when it was mentioned to me downstairs just now, and I recollect your face. We have held very little personal communication together. Very little. You have retired and withdrawn from me more than any of the rest, I think. The student signified assent. And why? Said the chemist, not with the least expression of interest, but with a moody, wayward kind of curiosity. Why? How come it that you have sought to keep especially from me the knowledge of your remaining here at this season, when all the rest have dispersed, and your being ill? I want to know why this is. The young man, who had heard him with increasing agitation, raised his downcast eyes to his face, and clasped his hands together, cried with sudden earnestness and with trembling lips, Mr. Redlaw, you have discovered me. You know my secret. Secret, said the chemist harshly. I know. Yes, your manner, so different from the interest and sympathy which endeared you to so many hearts, your altered voice, the constraint there is in everything you say, and in your looks, replied the student, warn me that you know me, that you would conceal it even now, but disapprove to me. God knows I need none, and your natural kindness, and of the bar there is between us. A vacant and impetuous laugh was all his answer. 2020 part 6, oh my god. Hi Catsom, welcome in. Luke Mac, thanks for the follows, welcome in, how's your night? Hi Diedrich, how's your night? Merry New Year, Envo. Hi Envo, welcome in. Happy Christmas, Sloth. The Cloakman. I just won tree bitty. So the new kiss is really hard now. Right? It is hard now. It sounds like Ebenezer Scrooge speaking. Kinda, right? I mean, so this story predates Christmas Carol. Much love to you all. Have a good sleep, Endless. Tired? You're sleepy? Here's to hoping part 26 is better than part 25. Honestly, there were some good parts in 25, but I would say there was a good majority parts of 2025 that were really good to us in particular. We might not get to the end of chapter 3 because I'm looking at how long we have left, and we're not even halfway through the second chapter. The second chapter is very, very long. Oh my goodness, it's very, very long. We're not even halfway through the second half. Goodness. But we have another hour. So let's see how far we can go. I'm gonna take a quick breather. I'm gonna drink some water. Oof, that was my neck. Let's do a quick, let's do a quick stretch. Sleeping with my wife. She just got back from family. I've been in Chile since the 21st. You didn't spend Christmas with your wife? Well, now you have the time. You have all the time, right? You guys can celebrate together. This was before Christmas Carol. So fun fact about Christmas Carol, or Scrooge, that a lot of you might think of it or know it by. It's called Scrooge also, but the Christmas Carol. So when Charles Dickens wrote the Christmas Carol, it was more of a call out than it was really anything else, because a lot of the behaviors of Ebenezer Scrooge were common behaviors of people of the time. For them to not care about people that were unfortunate or didn't have as much money as him, that was just the norm of the people of the time. So when he wrote that story pointing out the greed and the loss of humanity in so many cases, people, they heard the story, they read the story, whatever, right? And they changed. That's why when people think about the Christmas time now, right, it's, you know, taking the religious aspect of it and setting that aside. People think about Christmas as a time of giving, of charity, of not just community, but also their humanity. This is the time where a lot of people do. And I kind of want to say, not because of Christmas Carol, right, but it definitely was a contributing factor to it. I thought that was interesting. Family wanted me, and her family wanted her. 5 hours from us in opposite directions. I get it. So it's easier for you both to go spend Christmas with you know, your families, and then come together afterwards. That makes sense. That makes sense. Got some. Monet Lily, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? I'm gonna drink some water now. You know what? Yeah, we'll drink water. And then I will drink some of my coffee because I think it's probably cold by now. All right. Thank you for educating me. I like history, and I like looking up different historical facts of things. And because of that, I get a lot of those types of videos on my YouTube Shorts feed, as well as TikTok, of course. She came home sick. I'm holding her. I haven't held my princess. Fever for this? Oh, definitely. You should spend the time with her instead of with us, Katsum. Of course, I want you to hang out with us, but if you haven't hung out with them in 10 days, you definitely need to spend that time with them and enjoy it. Okay. My throat is feeling a little itchy, so I'm drinking some water. Christmas was traditionally when people told ghost stories. Christmas Carol tells a story throughout 4 ghosts. Christmas is also, well, the winter is traditionally also a time of dark stories, right? So because winter is a time of darkness, right? The days are shorter, depending on where you live, of course, but the days are shorter, and they feel darker because it's cold. Nothing really grows in the winter. Well, you have to think about it like this, Leor. Jacob Marley, ghost of Christmas past, ghost of Christmas future, sorry, present, and then the ghost of Christmas future. 4 ghosts. Past, present, future, Jacob Marley. Christmas yet to come. ASMR just leave because technically it's precious to me and she's already out. Ah, I see, okay. Hi JP, welcome in. Hi Chef, how's your night? 4 ghosts, yeah. Because remember Jacob Marley, in life, I was your partner. Jacob Marley. Yep. I get scared every time I hear my name from the stream. Well, that was the name of Scrooge's the ghost. Speaking of ghosts. Oh, goodbye. Everyone forgets. It's true. Because he's the very first one and people forget that technically he's dead, right? His partner. Yep, his partner in crime. Literal crime. If you think about it, literally. Okay. Doing well, thank you. Good. We are reading a book called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. Got a tattoo. Got a tattoo? Hi, Viking. Why is the eye closed? My eye's not closed. It's missing. I only have one eye. Here. I will move a little closer so you can see. Let me just lock all those. See? There's only one. I only have one eye. Viking, thank you for the kiss. I don't know where it is, but thank you. We have so many, I have no idea where it went. It could be anywhere. I remember the Marleys, but I just didn't think they were counted as the same type of ghost as the ghost of past of the Christmases, because they don't have time manipulation capability. Well, technically, because the ghost of the Christmases, right, are not necessarily the same type of ghost, but they're still ghosts, right? Specters of some sort. Usually have an eye patch. I do. Traxinator, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Okay. I'm gonna drink some more water and then we'll continue reading. Relax my shoulders. Relax my neck. Oof. Hi Magna, thank you for the care package. Oof. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue. But, Mr. Redlaw, said the student, as a just man and a good man, think of how innocent I am, except in name and descent of participation in any wrong inflicted on you or in any sorrow you have borne. Sorrow, said Mr. Redlaw, laughing. Wrong. What are those to me? For heaven's sakes, entreated the shrieking student, do not let a mere interchange of a few words with me change you like this, sir. Let me pass again from your knowledge and notice. Let me occupy my old reserve and distant place among those whom you instruct. Know me only by the name I have assumed, not of that of the Longford. Longford, exclaimed the other. He clasped his head with both hands, and for a moment turned upon the young man his own intelligent and thoughtful face, but the light passed from it, like the sunbeam of an instant, and it clouded as before. "The name my mother bears, sir," faltered the young man, "the name she took, when she might, perhaps, have taken one more honoured, Mr. Redlaw." Hesitating, "I believe I know that history. Where my information halts, my guesses at what is wanting may supply something not remote from the truth. I am the child of a marriage that has not proved itself a well-assorted or a happy one. From infancy, I have heard you spoke of with honour and respect, with something that was almost reverence. I have heard of such devotion, of such fortitude and tenderness, of such rising up against the obstacles which press men down at that my fancy, since I learnt my little lesson from my mother, has shed a lustre on your name. At last, a poor student myself, from whom I could learn but you." Holy shit. Hi, Cherry. Love you too. Is that my sister? Hi, sister. How are you? Okay, little context at what's going on, right? So the character in the shadows, his name is Redlaw, right? Hi, Bard. Sister. Hi, Kazu. How are you? Hi. How's your night? How are you guys? Let me give you a quick shout out, Cherry. If you guys don't know Cherry, they are a wonderful streamer and artist. Make sure to go check them out. Go give them a follow. We are reading a story right now called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, right? So, the main character, the haunted man, his name is Redlaw. That's the character in the cloak that is talking to the student right now. So, on the night of Christmas Eve, a ghost that looks just like him makes a deal with him. And the deal is, I will take away from you all of your sorrow and sadness in relations to this woman who Redlaw was in love with. And because of that, because of that love, and she ended up marrying somebody else named Longford. So the woman that Redlaw was in love with married somebody else named Longford. Because of that, he was struck with such sorrow for so long that a ghost appeared to him on Christmas Eve and told him, I will take away that sorrow. I will take away the memories of that pain. But in exchange, you will give me your knowledge as a chemist, as a learned man. And Mr. Redlaw took the bargain. So now, learning that one of his students is staying with his keepers, as in his butler, his maid, his porter, they're all one family. He's living in the same building as his keepers. And the student's name is Longford. And the student just admitted to Redlaw that he is the daughter of the woman that Redlaw was in love with. But because that marriage was not a happy one, the student is poor, and now, instead of being able to go home for Christmas, he's the daughter, he's the son, the student is the son of Longford. Hi, God Hunter, welcome in, how are you? And so Mr. Redlaw is now facing the son of the man who took away the woman he was in love with. And the son just confirmed that by saying, I know the story and I know about you because of my mother. And she always held you with high respect. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Redlaw, unmoved, unchanged and looking at him with a straight frown, answered by no word or sign. "I cannot say," pursued the other. "I should try in vain to say how much it has impressed me and affected me to find this gracious traces of the past, and that certain power of winning gratitude and confidence which is associated among us students, among the humblest of us most, with Mr. Redlaw's generous name. Our ages and positions are so different, sir, and I am so accustomed to regard you from a distance, that I wonder at my own presumption when I touch, however lightly, on that theme. But to one who, I may say, who felt so common interest in my mother once, it may be something to hear, now that all is past, and with indescribable feelings of affection I have, in my obscurity, regarded him, with what pain and reluctance I have kept aloof from his encouragement, when a word of it would have made me rich. Yet how I have felt unfit and should have hold my course, content to know him and to be known." "Mr. Redlaw," said the student faintly, "what I would have said, I have said ill, for my strength is strange to me as yet. For anything unworthy of this fraud of mine, forgive me, and for all the rest, forget me." The staring frown remained on Redlaw's face, and yielded no other expression until the student, with these words, advanced towards him, as if to touch his hand, when he drew back and cried to him, "Don't come nearer to me." The young man stopped, shocked by the eagerness of his recoil and by the sternness of his repulsion, and he passed his hand thoughtfully across his forehead. "The past is past," said the chemist. "It dies like the brutes. Who talks to me of its traces in my life? He raves or lies. What have I to do with your distempered dreams? If you want money, here it is. I came to offer it, and that is all I came for." "There can be nothing else that brings me here," he muttered, holding his head again with both hands. "There can be nothing else." And yet he had tossed his purse upon the table and fell into this dim condemnation with himself. The student took it up and held it out to him. "Take it back, sir," he said proudly, though not angrily. I wish you could take from me with it the remembrance of your words and offer." "You do?" he retorted with a wild light in his eyes. "You do." "I do." The chemist went close to him for the first time and took the purse and turned him by the arm and looked him in the face. "There is sorrow and troubles and sickness, is there not?" he demanded with a laugh. The wandering student answered, "Yes." In its unrest, in its anxiety, in its suspense, in all its train of physical and mental miseries, said the chemist, with a wild, unearthly exultation, "all best forgotten, are they not?" The student did not answer, but again passed his hand confusedly across his forehead. Redlaw still held him by the sleeve when Milly's voice was heard outside. "I can see very well now," she said. "Thank you, Dolph. Don't cry, dear. Father and Mother will be comfortable again tomorrow, and home will be comfortable too. A gentleman with him is here." Redlaw released his hold as he listened. "I have feared from the first moment," he murmured to himself, "to meet her. There is a steady quality of goodness in her that I dread to influence. I may be the murderer for what is tenderest and best within her bosom." She was knocking on the door. Shall I dismiss it as an idle foreboding, or still avoid her? He muttered, looking uneasily around. She was knocking at the door again. "Of all the visitors who could come here," he said in a hoarse, alarmed voice, turning to his companion, "this is the one I should desire most to avoid. Hide me, The student opened a frail door in the wall, communicating where the garret roof began to slope towards the floor with the small inner room. Redlaw passed in hastily and shut it after him. The student then resumed his place upon the couch and called to her to enter. How are you, Godhunter? Wait, what? He is a daughter. Son, sorry, he's a son. Doing, hope you have been well. I've been doing good. Hi, Vapor Skull, how are you? How's your night? I regard Icarus friend zone. Not the friend zone. Hi, Hunter, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Dear Edmund, said Millie, looking around, they told me there was a gentleman here. There's no one here but I. There has been someone. Yes. Yes, there has been someone. She put her little basket on the table and went to the back of the couch as if to take the extended hand, but it was not there. A little surprised, in her quiet way, she leaned over to look at his face and gently touched him on the brow. Are you quite well tonight? Well, it is not so cool in the afternoon, said the student petulantly. Very little ails me. A little more surprise, but no reproach, was expressed in her face as she withdrew the other side of the table and took a small packet of needlework from her basket. But she laid it down again on second thoughts, and going noiselessly about the room, set everything exactly in its place in the neatest order, even to the cushions on the couch, which she touched with so light a hand that he hardly seemed to know it as he lay looking at the fire. When all this was done and she had swept the hearth, she sat down in her modest little bonnet to her work and was quietly busy on it directly. It's the new muslin curtain for the window, Mr. Edmund, said Millie, stitching away as she talked. It would look very clean and nice, though it costs very little, and would save your eyes too from the light. My William says his room should not be too light just now, when you are recovering so well, or the glare might make you giddy. He said nothing, but there was something so fretful and impatient in his change of position that her quick fingers stopped, and she looked at him anxiously. The pillows are not comfortable, she said, laying down her work and rising. I will soon put them right. They are very well, he answered. Leave them alone, pray. You make so much of everything. He raised his head to say this, and looked at her so thanklessly that, after he had thrown himself down again, she stood timidly pausing. However, she resumed her seat and her needle without having directed even a murmuring look towards him, and was soon as busy as before. I have been thinking, Mr. Edmund, that you have been often thinking of late, when I have been sitting by, how true the saying is, that adversity is a good teacher. Health will be more precious to you after this illness than has ever been, and years hence, when this time of year comes round and you remember the days when you lay sick here, alone, that the knowledge of your illness might not afflict those who are dearest to you, your home will be doubtably dearer and doubtably blessed. Now, isn't that a good thing, true thinking? I love this story. It's a pretty good story so far. It's interesting. Your voice is so pretty. Thank you, Hunter. Venus Bear, how are you? Thank you so much for the follow. She was too intent upon her work, and too earnest in what she said, and too composed and quiet altogether, to be on the watch for any look he might direct towards her in reply. So the shaft of his ungrateful glance fell harmless, and did not wound her. Said Millie, with her pretty head inclining thoughtfully to one side as she looked down, following her busy fingers with her hands. Even on me, and I am very different from you, Mr. Edmund, for I have no learning, and I don't know how to think properly. This view of such things has made a great impression since you have been lying ill. When I've seen you so touched by the kindness and attention of the poor people downstairs, I felt that you thought even that experienced some repayment for the loss of health. And I have read in your face, as plain as if it is in the book, that but for some trouble and sorrow, we should never know half the good there is about us. His getting up from the couch interrupted her, or she was going on to say more. We needn't magnify the merit, Miss Williams, he rejoined slightly. The people downstairs will be paid in good time, I dare say, for a little extra service. They have remembered me, and perhaps they anticipate no less. I am much obliged to you two. Her fingers stopped, and she looked at him. I can't be made to feel the more obliged to exaggerate the case, he said. I am sensible that you have been interested in me, and I say I am much obliged to you. What more would you have? Her work fell on her lap, as she looked at him with walking to and fro with an intolerant air, and stopped now and then. I say it again, I am much obliged to you. Why weaken my sense of what is your due and obligation by preferring enormous claims upon me? Trouble, sorrow, affliction, adversity. One might suppose I have been dying a score of deaths here. Do you believe, Mr. Edmund, she asked, raising and going nearer to him, that I spoke of the poor people of the house with any reference to myself? To me, laying her hand upon her bosom with a simple and innocent smile of astonishment. I think nothing about it, my good creature, he returned. I have had an indisposition which your solicitude, observe, I say, solicitude, makes a great deal more of than it merits, and it's over, and we can't perpetrate it. He coldly took a book and sat down at the table. She watched him for a little while until her smile was quite gone, and then, returning to where her basket was, said gently, Mr. Edmund, would you rather be alone? There is no reason why I shouldn't detain you here, he replied, except, Millie hesitated, and showing her work. Oh, the curtain, he answered with a supercilious laugh. That's not worth staying for. She made up a little packet again and put it in her basket. Then, standing before him with such an air of patient entreaty that he could not choose but look at her, she said, If you should want me, I will come back willingly. When you did want me, I was quite happy to come. There is no merit in it. I think you might be afraid that, now you are getting well, I may be troublesome to you. But I should not have been, indeed. I should have come no longer than your weakness and confinement lasted. You owe me nothing, but it is right that you should deal as justly by me as if I was a lady, even the very lady that you love. And if you suspect me of making such of the little I have tried to do to comfort your sick room, you do yourself more wrong than ever you can do to me. That is why I am sorry. That is why I am very sorry. Karnak, thank you so much for the resub. Enjoy this emotes, and as always, welcome to Favorite Cafe, handsome. Alright, you know what? Karnak is a cat, so definitely we're gonna add a bite. We're gonna do blue. Becky loves blue. And we're gonna put it on my neck. Oh, I want to turn it. Oh, shit. There you go. Perfect. Alright. You would, Karnak. Okay. So it definitely feels like Redlaw, the chemist who made the deal with the ghost. It's not, he didn't just lose his empathy and his those feelings. He knows that he causes something when he touches people, because he affected the husband downstairs, Mr. Tiberley? Something with a T. Mr. something with a T. I forget his name. So he affected him when he touched him. He suddenly no longer cared that his wife was distraught and about to faint. Now, he's affecting Edmund, who no longer cares that Millie has been nursing him and giving him care and attention, though he is sick and bedridden for however long he's been bedridden, which is probably a very long time. And so now she's telling him, if you don't want me to be here, tell me so. But when I would come when you asked me to, I was very much willing to do so. But you don't owe me anything, because I do this because I want to. Basically, that's what she was saying to him, right? Okay. If she had been as passionate as she was quiet, as indignant as she was calm, as angry in her look as she was gentle, as loud of tone as she was low and clear, she might have left no sense of her departure in the room, compared with that which fell upon the lonely student when she went away. He was gazing drearily upon the place where she had been, when Redclaw came out of concealment and came to the door. "When sickness lays its hand on you again," he said, looking fiercely back at him, "may it be soon. Die here. Rot here." "What have I done?" returned the other, catching at his cloak. "What change have you wrought to me? What curse have you brought upon me? Give me back myself." "Give me back myself," reclaimed Redlaw like a madman. "I am infected. I am infectious. I am charged with poison for my own mind and the minds of all mankind. Where I felt interest, compassion, sympathy, I turned into stone. Selfishness and ingratitude spring up from my blithing footsteps. I am only so much less base than the wretches whom I make so, that in the moment of the transformation I can hate them." As he spoke, the young man stood still, holding onto his cloak. He cast him off and struck him, then wildly hurried out into the night air where the wind was blowing, the snow falling, the cloud drift sweeping on, the moon dimly shining, and where, blowing in the wind, falling with the snow, drifting with the clouds, shining in the moonlight, and heavily looming in the darkness, were the phantom's words, "The gift that I have given, you shall give again. Go where you will." Whither he went, he neither knew nor cared, so that he avoided company. The change he felt within him made the busy street a desert, and himself a desert, and the multitude around him in their manifold endurances and ways of life, a mighty waste of sand, which the winds tossed into unintelligible heaps and made a ruinous confusion of. Those traces in his breast which the phantom had told him would die out soon were not as yet so far upon their way to death, but that he understood enough of what he was, of what he made of others, to desire to be alone. This put it in his mind. He suddenly bethought himself, as he was going along, of the boy who had rushed into his room, and then he recollected that of those with whom he had communicated since the phantom's disappearance. That boy alone had shown no signs of being changed. Monstrous and odious as the wild thing was to him, he determined to seek it out and prove it if this were really so, and also to seek it with another intention, which came into his thoughts at the same time. So, resolving with some difficulty where he was, he directed his first steps back to the old college, and to that part of it where the general porch was, and where alone the pavement was worn by the tread of students' feet. The keeper's house stood within the iron gates, forming a part of the chef's quadrangle. There was a little cloister outside. From that sheltered place he knew he could look in at the window of their ordinary room and see who was within. The iron gates were shut, but his hand was familiar with the fastening, and drawing it back and thrusting his wrist between the bars, he passed through softly, shutting it again, and crept up to the window, crumbling the thin crust of snow to his feet. The fire, to which he had directed the boy last night, shining brightly through the glass, made an illuminated place upon the ground. Instinctively avoiding this, and going around it, he looked in the window. At first, he thought that there was no one there, and that the blaze was reddening only to the old beams in the ceiling and the dark walls. But peering in more narrowly, he saw the object of his search, coiled asleep before it on the floor. He passed quietly to the door, opened it, and went in. Bushy, welcome in, how are you? What book is this? Hi, Commando. This is called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. It's very hard to read it, I can tell. It's on the side over here, right under it says reading. That was hard to read. What should we be reading? Yeah, but you can also do !book, and you can get the link that way to the story. If you want to follow along. My car's here just checking out of work. Okay, enjoy the drive home. Lior, thank you for the forehead kiss. Let me see, do I owe any other redeems? Really quick. Sloth, I'm so sorry. And Josie, thank you for the forehead kiss. I know I did that one. We did the care package. And we just did your... Okay. The creature lay in such a fiery heat that, as the chemist stooped to rouse him, it scorched his head. As soon as he was touched, the boy, not half awake, clutching his rags together with the instinct of flight upon him, half rolled and half ran to a distant corner of the room, where, heaped upon the ground, he struck his foot out to defend himself. "Get up," said the chemist. "Have you forgotten me?" "You let me alone," returned the boy. "This is the woman's house, not yours." The chemist's steady eye controlled him somewhat, or inspired him with enough submission to be raised upon his feet, and looked at. "He washed them and put those bandages where they were bruised and cracked?" asked the chemist, pointing to their altered state. Let's talk about the boy's feet. "The woman did." "And is it she who made you cleaner in the face too?" "Yes, the woman." Redlaw asked these questions to attract his eyes towards himself, and with the same intent now held him by the chin and threw his wild hair back. Though he loathed to touch him, the boy watched his eyes keenly, as if he thought it needful of his own defense, not knowing what he might do next, and Redlaw could see well that no change came over him. "Where are they?" he inquired. "The woman's out." "I know she is." "Where is the old man with the white hair and his son?" "The woman's husband, do you mean?" inquired the boy. "Aye." "Where are those two?" "Out. Something's the matter somewhere. They fetched shut in a hurry and he told me to stop here." "Come with me," said the chemist, "and I'll give you money." "Come where? And how much will you give?" "I'll give you more shillings than you ever saw, and bring you back soon. Do you know your way to where you came from?" "You let me go," returned the boy, suddenly twisting out of the man's grasp. "I'm not going to take you there. Let me be, or I'll heave some fire at you." He was down before it, and ready with his savage little hand to pluck the burning coals out. What the chemist had felt, and observing the effect of his charmed influence stealing over those with whom he came into contact was not nearly equal to the cold, vague terror with which he saw this baby monster put in at defense. It chilled his blood to look at the immovable, impenetrable thing, and the likeliness of a child with its sharp, malignant face turned up at his, and its almost infant hand ready at the bars. "Listen, boy," he said. "You shall take me where you please, so that you can take me where the people are very miserable or very wicked. I want to do them good and not harm them. You shall have money, as I've told you, and I will bring you back. Get up, come quick," he said. He made a hasty step towards the door, afraid of her returning. "Will you let me walk by myself and never hold me, nor yet touch me?" said the boy, slowly withdrawing the hand which he had threatened and beginning to get up. "I will. And let me go before, behind, or always I like. I will. Give me some money first, then, and go." The chemist laid a few shillings one by one in his extended hand. To count them was beyond the boy's knowledge, but he said "one" every time and avariciously looked at each as it was given, and the donor. He had nowhere to put them out of his hand but in his mouth, and so he put them there. Redlaw then wrote with his pencil on a leaf of his pocketbook that the boy was with him, and laying it on the table, signed to him to follow. Keeping his rags together, as usual, the boy complied, and went out with his bare head and naked feet into the winter night, preferring not to depart by the iron gate by which he had entered, or they were in danger of meeting her whom he so anxiously avoided. The chemist led the way through some of those passages among which the boy had lost himself, and by that portion of the building where he lived, to a small door of which he had the key. When they got into the street, he stopped to ask his guide, who instantly retreated for him if he knew where they were. The savage thing looked here and there, and at length nodded his head, pointed in the direction he designed to take. Redlaw going on at once, he followed, something less suspiciously, shifting his money in his mouth to his hand and back again into his mouth, and stealthily rubbing it bright upon his shreds of dress. Oh, he took it out of his mouth and then, okay, as he went along. "Hi, Thanatos, welcome in." 3 times in their progress, they were side by side. 3 times they stopped, being side by side. 3 times the chemist glanced out his face and shuddered, as if forced upon him one reflection. The first occasion was when they were crossing the old churchyard, and Redlaw stopped among the graves, utterly at a loss how to connect with any tender, softening, or consolatory thoughts. The second was when the breaking forth of the moon induced him to look up at the heavens, where he saw her in her glory, surrounded by a host of stars. He still knew by the names and histories which human science had appended to them, but where he saw nothing else he had been wont to see, felt nothing he had been wont to felt, looking up there on a bright night. The third was when he stopped to listen to a plaintive strain of music, but could only hear a tune made manifest to him by the dry mechanism of the instruments in his own ears, with no addresses to any mystery within him, with a whispered in it of his past or the future, powerless upon him as the sound does of last year's running water or the rushing of last year's wind. At each of these 3 times he saw horror that, in spite of the vast intellectual distance between them, and their being unlike each other in all physical respect, the expression on the boy's face was the expression of his own. Imagine hearing a song, seeing a beautiful beautiful moonlit sky. You can see all the stars. You don't feel a thing. Nothing. You're just like, imagine. That would suck. They journeyed on for some time, now through such crowded places that he often looked over his shoulder thinking he had lost his guide, but generally finding him within his shadow on his other side, now by ways so quiet that he could have counted his short, quick, naked footsteps coming on behind. Until they arrived at a ruinous collection of houses, the boy touched him and stopped. "In there," he said, pointing out one house where there were scattered lights in the window and a dim lantern in the doorway, with "Lodgings for Travellers" painted on it. Redlaw looked about him, from the houses to the waste piece of ground on which the house stood, or rather, did not altogether tumble down, unfenced, undrained, unlightened, and bordered by a sluggish ditch. From that to the sloping line of the arches, part of some neighboring viaduct or bridge with which was surrounded, and which lessened gradually towards them until the last but one was a mere kennel for a dog, the last of plundered little heap of bricks. From that to a child close to him, cowering and trembling with the cold and limping on one little foot while he coiled the other round his leg to warm it. Yet staring at all these things with that frightful likeness of expression so apparent in his face that Redlaw startled from him. "There," said the boy, pointing out the house again. "I'll wait." "Will they let me in?" asked Redlaw. "Say you're a doctor," he answered with a nod. "There's plenty ill there." Looking back on his way to the house door, Redlaw saw himself trail himself upon the dust and crawl within the shelter of the smallest arch, as if he were a rat. He had no pity for the thing, but he was afraid of it, and when he looked out of its den at him, he hurried to the house as a retreat. "Sorrow, wrong, and trouble," said the chemist, with the painful effort of some more distinct remembrance, "at least haunt this place darkly. You do no harm who brings forgetfulness of such things here." With these words, he pushed the yielding door and went in. Hi Fraction, welcome in. Good night, Anvil, have a good sleep. There was a woman sitting on the stairs, either asleep or forlorn, whose head was bent down on her hands and knees, as it was not easy to pass without treading on her, and she was perfectly regardless of his nearer approach. He stopped and touched her on the shoulder. Looking up, she showed him quite a young face, but one whose bloom and promise were all swept away, as if the haggard winter should unnaturally kill the spring. With little or no show of concern on his account, she moved nearer to the wall to leave him a wider passage. "What are you?" said Redlaw, pausing, with his hand upon the broken stair rail. "What do you think I am?" she answered, showing him her face again. He looked upon the ruined temple of God, so lately made, so soon disfigured, and something which was not compassion for the springs in which a true compassion for which miseries has its rise were dried up in his breast, but which was nearer to it the moment than any feeling that had lately strangled into the darkening, but not yet wholly darkened night of his mind, mingled a touch of softness with his next words. "I am come here to give relief if I can," he said. "Are you thinking of any wrong?" She frowned at him and then laughed, and then her laugh prolonged itself into a shivering sigh as she dropped her head again and hid her fingers in her hair. "Are you thinking of wrong?" he asked once more. "I'm thinking on my life," she said, with a momentary look at him. He had a perception that she was one of many, and that he saw the type of thousands when he saw her drooping at his feet. "What are your parents?" he demanded. "I had a good home once. My father was a gardener, far away, in the country." "Is he dead?" "He's dead to me. All such things are dead to me." "You are a gentleman and not to know that." She raised her eyes again and laughed at him. "Girl, said Redlaw sternly. Before this death, of all things, what brought about, was there no wrong done to you? In spite of all that you can do, does no remembrance of wrong cleave to you? Are there not times upon times when this is misery to you? So little of what was womanly was left in her appearance that now, when she burst into tears, he stood, amazed. But he was more amazed and much disquieted to note that in her wakened recollection of this wrong, the first trace of her old humanity and frozen tenderness appeared to show itself. Have a good look, Ivan. Hi, Vulcan, welcome in. He drew a little off, and in doing so, observed that her arms were black, her face cut, and her bosom bruised. What brutal hands has hurt you so? He asked. My own. I did it myself, she answered quickly. It's impossible. I swear I did. He didn't touch me. I did it to myself in a passion and threw myself down there. He wasn't near me. He never laid a hand upon me. In the white determination of her face confronting him with this untruth, he saw enough of the past perversion and distortion of good surviving in that miserable breast to be stricken with remorse that he had never come near her. Sorrow, wrong, and trouble, he muttered, turning his fearful gaze away. All that connects her with the state from which she has fallen. All has those roots. In the name of God, let me go by. Afraid to look at her again, afraid to touch her, afraid to think of having sundered the last thread by which she held upon the mercy of heaven, he gathered his cloak about him and glided swiftly up the stairs. Opposite to him on the landing was a door which stood partially open, and which, as he ascended, a man with a candle in his hand came forward from within to shut. But this man, upon seeing him, drew back, with much emotion in his manner, and as if by a sudden impulse, mentioned his name aloud. In the surprise of such a recognition there, he stopped, endeavouring to recollect the wan and startled face. He had no time to consider it, for, to his yet greater amazement, old Philip came out of the room and took him by the hand. Mr. Redlaw, said the man, this is like you. This is like you, sir. You have heard it, and have come after us to render any help you can. Too late, too late. Redlaw, with a bewildered look, submitted to be led into the room. A man lay there, on a truckle bed, and William Switchner stood at the bedside. Too late, murmured the old man, looking swiftly into the chemist's face, and the tears stole down his cheeks. That's what I say, father, imposed his son in a low voice. That's where it is, exactly. To keep as quiet as ever we can while he's dozing is the only thing to do. You're right, father. Redlaw paused at the bedside and looked down on the figure that was stretched upon the mattress. It was that of a man who should have been in the vigor of his life, but on whom it was not likely the sun would ever shine again. The vices of a 40 or 50 years' cheer had so branded him that, in comparison with their efforts upon his face, the heavy hand of time upon the old man's face who watched him had been merciful and beautifying. Who is this? Asked the chemist, looking around. My son, George, Mr. Redlaw, said the old man, wringing his hands. My eldest son, George, who is more his mother's pride than all the rest. Redlaw's eyes wandered from the old man's grey head, as he laid it down upon the bed, to the person who had recognized him and had kept aloof in the remotest corner of the room. He seemed to be about his own age, and although he knew no such hopeless decay and broken man as he appeared to be, there was something in the turn of his figure, as he stood with his back towards him and now went out the door, that made him pass his hand uneasily across his brow. William, he said in a gloomy whisper, who is that man? Why, you see, sir, returned Mr. William, that's what I say myself. Why should a man ever go and gamble, and the like of that, let himself down inch by inch till he can't let himself go down any lower. Has he done so? asked Redlaw, glancing after him with the same uneasy action as before. Just exactly that, sir, returned William Switchner, as I'm told. He knows a little about medicine, sir, it seems, and having been wayfarer towards London with my unhappy brother that you see here, Mr. Williams passed his coat sleeve across his eyes, and being lodged upstairs for the night, what I say, you see, is that strange compassions come together here sometimes. You looked in to attend upon him, and came to us for his request. What a mournful spectacle, sir. But that's what it is. It's enough to kill my father. Redlaw looked up at these words, and recalling where he was and with whom and the spell he carried with him, which his surprise had obscured, retired a little hurriedly, debating with himself whether to shun the house that moment or remain, yielding to a certain sullen doggedness which it seemed to be a part of his condition to struggle with. He argued for remaining. It was only yesterday, he said, when I observed the memory of this old man to be a tissue of sorrow and trouble, and shall I be afraid tonight to shake it? Are such remembrances as I can drive away so precious to this dying man that I need fear for him? No, I'll stay here. But he stayed in fear and trembling none the less for these words, and shrouded in the black cloak with his face turned from them, stood away from the bedside, listening to what they said, as if he felt himself a demon in the place. Father, murmured the sick man, rallying a little from stupor. My boy, my son George, said old Philip. You spoke just now of my being mother's favourite long ago. It's a dreadful thing to think of now, long, long ago. No, 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 returned the old man. Think of it. Don't say it's dreadful. It's not dreadful to me, my son. It cuts you to the heart, father. For the old man's tears were falling on him. Yes, yes, said Philip, so it does, but it does me good. It's a heavy sorrow to think of that time, but it does me good, George. Oh, think of it too, and your heart will be softened more and more. Where's my son William? William, my boy, your mother loved him dearly to the last. With her latest breath said, tell him I forgive him, blessed him, and prayed for him. Those were her words to me. I have never forgotten them, and I'm 87. Father, said the man sitting up, I'm dying, I know. I'm so far gone and I can hardly speak, even of what my mind most runs on. Is there any hope for me beyond this bed? There is hope, returned the old man. For all who are softened and penitent, there is hope for all. Oh, he exclaimed, clasping his hands and looking up. I was thankful only yesterday that I could remember this unhappy son when he was an innocent child. But what a comfort it is now to think that even God himself has a remembrance of him. Redclaw spread his hands upon his face and shrank like a murderer. Ah, feebly moaned the man upon the bed. The waste since then, the waste of life since then. But he was a child once, said the old man. He played with children. Before he lay down on his bed at night, he fell into guiltless rest and said his prayers at his poor mother's knee. I have seen him do it many a time, and seen her lay his head upon her breast and kiss him. Sorrowful as it was to her and to me to think of this, when he was so wrong, and when our hopes and plans for him were all broken, this gave him still a hold upon us that nothing else could have been. Oh, Father, so much better than the fathers upon earth. O Father, so much more afflicted by the errors of thy children, take this wanderer back, not as he is, but as he was then. Let him cry to thee, as he has so often seemed to cry to us. So many marks. Hi, Mally. Yeah, so for every person who subs or does 500 bits, I add a mark. Agent, thank you so much for the follow. As the old man lifted up his trembling hands, the son, for whom he made the supplication, laid his sinking head against him for support and comfort, as if he were indeed the child of whom he spoke. When did man ever tremble as Redclaw trembled? In the silence that ensued, he knew it must come upon them, knew it was coming fast. A mortal loaf stealer? Not the breb. Welcome in, thanks for the follow. Good night, Kono baby. Have a good sleep. Thank you for the carrot package. We'll do the carrot package right now. Sit up, tilt your head left, and tilt your head right. Look up, and look down. Ooh, sit up and drink some mama. Welcome in, Sperm Shot. How are you? Thank you for the follow. My lips are a little dry. Okay. My time is very short. My breath is shorter. In the sick, said the sick man, supporting himself on one arm and with the other groping in the air, and I remember there was something on my mind concerning the man that was here just now, Father. And William, wait, is there really anything in black out there? Yes, it's real, said his aged father. Is it a man? Would I say myself, George? Deposed his brother, bending kindly over him. It's Mr. Redlaw. I thought I had dreamed of him. Ask him to come here. The chemist, whiter than the dying man, appeared before him. Obedient to the motion of his hand, he sat upon the bed. It has been so rippled up tonight, sir, said the sick man, laying his head upon his heart, with the look in which the mute, imploring agony of his condition was concentrated. But the sight of my poor father, and the thought of all that trouble I had been the cause of, and all the wrong and sorrow lying at my door, that was it the extremity to which he had come, or was it drawing of another change that made him stop? That what I can do right, with my mind running on so much so fast, I'll try to do. There was another man here. Did you see him? Redclaw could not reply by any word, for when he saw the fatal sign he knew so well, of the wandering hand upon the forehead, his voice died at his lips, but he made him some indication of assent. He is penniless, hungry, and destitute. He is completely beaten down, and has no resource at all. Look after him. Lose no time. I know he has it in his mind to kill himself. It was working. It was on his face. His face was changing, hardening, deepening in all its shades, and losing all its sorrow. Don't you remember? Don't you know him? He pursued. He shut his face out for a moment, with the hand that again wandered over his forehead, and then it lowered on Redclaw, recklessly, ruffianly, and callous. What do you? He said, scowling round. What have you been doing to me here? I have lived bold, and I mean to die bold, to the devil with you. And so lay down upon his bed, and put his arms up over his head and ears as resolute from the time to keep out all access, and to die in his indifference. Have a good sleep, Necro. Rest well. If Redclaw had been struck by lightning, it could not have struck him from the bedside with a more tremendous shock. But the old man, who had left the bed whilst his son was speaking to him, now returning, avoided it quickly likewise, with an abhorrence. Where's my boy William? said the old man hurriedly. William, come away from here. We'll go home. Home, father, returned William. Are you going to leave your own son? Where's my own son? Replied the old man. Where? Why, there. That's no son of mine, said Philip, trembling with resentment. No such wretch as that has any claim on me. My children are pleasant to look at, and they wait upon me and get my meal and drink ready and are useful to me. I've a right to it. I'm 87. You're old enough to be no older, muttered William, looking at him grudgingly with his hands in his pocket. I don't know what good you are myself. We could have a deal more pleasure without you. My son, Mr. Redclaw. Mr. Redlaw, said the old man. My son, too. The boy talking to me of my son. Why, what has he ever done to give me any pleasure? I should like to know. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what you have ever done to give me any pleasure, said William sulkily. Let me think, said the old man. For how many Christmases times running have I sat with my warm place and never had to come out in the cold night air, and have made good cheer without being disturbed by any such uncomfortable wretched sight as him there. Is it 20, William? Nigh 40, it seems, he muttered. Why, when I look at my father, sir, and come to think of it, addressing Redlaw with an impatience and irritation that they were quite new, I'm whipped if I can see anything in him but a calendar of ever so many years of eating and drinking and making himself comfortable over and over again. I'm 87, said the old man, rambling on, childishly and weak. I don't know as ever I could much, but not by anything. I'm not going to begin now because of what he calls my son. He is not my son. I've had a power of pleasant times, I recollect once. No, I don't. No, it's broken off. It was something about a game of cricket and a friend of mine, but it's somehow broken off. I wonder who he was. I suppose I liked him, and I wonder what became of him. I suppose he died, but I don't know, and I don't care neither. I don't care a bit. Hi Nipa, welcome in. Happy New Year's. Hi Shorn, how are you? In his drowsy chuckling and the shaking of his head, he put his hands into a waistcoat pocket. In one of them he found a bit of holly, left there probably last night, which he now took out and looked at. Berries, eh? Said the old man. Ah, it's a pity they're not good to eat. I can recollect when I was a little chap about as high as that, and out a walking with, let me see, who was I out walking with? No, I don't remember how it was. I don't remember as I ever walked with anyone particular or cared for anyone or any one of me. Berries, huh? That's good cheer when there's berries. Well, I ought to have a share of it. We waited on and kept warm and comfortable, for I'm 87 and a poor old man. I'm 87. 87. The drivelling, pitiable manner in which, as he repeated this, he nibbled at the leaves and spat the morsels out. The cold, uninterested eye with which his youngest son, so changed, regarded him. The determined apathy with which his eldest son lay hardened on his sin, impressed themselves no more on Redlaw's observation, for he broke his way from the spot to which his feet seemed to have been fixed, and ran out of the house. His guide came crawling forth from its place of refuge and was ready for him before he reached the arches. Back to the woman's? He cried. Back, quickly, answered Redclaw. Stop nowhere on the way. Hi, Donnie. How are you? Working with some music stuff? Rest and relax, got tired of... No, that's so fair. You can't get tired of listening to things. I completely understand that. We are almost at the end of chapter 2. We are definitely not going to get to the end of chapter 3 tonight. Unless chapter 3 is very, very short, which it is not. I can already tell you that. Oof, chapter 2 is so long. Num num num. Alright. We're almost done. Hi, Koa. Thank you for the head pat. For a short distance, the boy went on before, but the return was more like a flight than a walk, and it was much as his bare feet could do to keep pace with the chemist's rapid strides, shrinking from all who passed, shrouded in his cloak and keeping it drawn closely about him as though there were more mortal cognition than any fluttering touch of his garments. He made no pause until they reached the door by which they had come out. He unlocked it with his key, went in, accompanied by the boy, and hastened through the dark passages to his own chamber. The boy watched him as he made the door fast and withdrew behind the table. When he looked around, "Come," he said, "don't you touch me. You've not brought me here to take my money away." Redlaw threw some more upon the ground. He flung his body upon it immediately, as if to hide it from him, lest the sight of it should tempt him to reclaim it. And not until he saw him seated by his lamp, with his face hidden in his hands, began furtively to pick it up. When he had done so, he crept near the fire, and sitting down with a great chair before it, took from his breast some broken scraps of food, and fell into munching and staring at the blaze, and now and then to glancing at his shillings, which he kept clenched in a bunch in one hand. "And this," said Redlaw, gazing at him with increased repugnance and fear, "is the only one companion I have left on earth." How long it was before he was aroused from his contemplation of this creature whom he dreaded so. Whether half an hour or half the night, he knew not, but the stillness of the room was broken by the boy, whom he had been listening, starting up and running towards the door. "Here's the woman coming," he exclaimed. The chemist stopped him on his way, and the moment when she knocked. "Let me go to her, will you?" said the boy. "Not now," returned the chemist. "Stay here. Nobody must pass in or out of the room now." "Who's that?" "It's I, sir," cried Milly. "Pray, sir, let me in." "No, not for the world," he said. Mr. Redlaw, pray, sir, let me in." "What's the matter?" he said, holding the boy. "The miserable man you saw is worse, and nothing I can say will wake him from his terrible infatuation. William's father has turned childish in a moment. William himself is changed. The shock has been too sudden for him. I cannot understand him. He is not like himself. Oh, Mr. Redlaw, pray advise me. Help me." No, he answered. "Mr. Redlaw, dear sir, George has been muttering in his doze about the man you saw there, who he fears will kill himself. Better you should do it than come near me. He says in his wanderings that you know him, that he was your friend once long ago, that he is the ruined father of a student here. My mind misgives me of the young gentleman who has been ill. What is to be done? How is he to be followed? How is he to be saved? Mr. Redlaw, pray, oh pray advise me. Help me." All this time he held the boy, who was half mad, to pass him and let her in. Phantoms, punishers of impetuous thoughts, cried Redlaw, gazing round in anguish. "Look upon me. From the darkness of my mind let the glimmer of the contrition that I know is there shine up and show my mercy. In the maternal world, as I have long taught, nothing can be spared, no step or atom in the wondrous structure could be lost without the blank being made of the great universe. I know now that is in the same with good and evil, happiness and sorrow in the memories of men. Pity me, relieve me." There was no response but her. Help me, let me in." The boy struggled to get to her. Shadow of my spell, shadow of myself, spirit of my darkest hour, cried Redlaw in distraction. Come back and haunt me day and night, but take this gift away, or if I must still rest with me, deprive me of the dreadful power of giving it to others. Undo what I have done, leave me benign. Restore the day to those whom I have crushed, as I have spared this woman from the first, and I will never go forth again, but will die here with no hand to tend me, save this creature's, whose is proof against me. Hear me. The only reply was the boy struggling to get to her, while he held him back, and the cry increasing in its energy. Help! Let me in! He was your friend once. How shall he? He was your friend once. How shall he be followed? How shall he be saved? They are changed. There is no one else to help me. Pray, pray, let me in. And that is the end of chapter 2. Hi, fellow. Popping in late, you're never late. Welcome in, welcome in. Sel! Hi, Sel. Hi, fellow, welcome in. Sel, how was stream? What were you playing? What did you end up playing tonight? You were doing some waivos. How did it go? Was it fun? Did you get some good wins in? I've been playing a lot lately too. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. More waivos. Nice. Are you excited about the Loki skin? It looks pretty cool. So I didn't get a good rings. Got jam 2. Everyone is excited. Honestly, yeah, the Lady Loki skin, yeah, I want that one. I thought about picking up the Cloak and Dagger one, but I'm gonna wait. And see what other ones they come up with. How often do you do reading club meetings? So reading club meetings are every Tuesday. I didn't know that this story was so long. I thought I would be able to do it in one sitting, because I wanted to. We're actually in the middle of reading Dracula right now, Slurm. So on Tuesdays we read Dracula, but there's only one more chapter of this, and it's way too long for me to read right now. So we're probably gonna do it next Tuesday. Yeah, we're gonna do chapter 3 of Haunted Man. And then after that, we're gonna get back into reading Dracula. Let me just put that on my calendar so I do not forget. Okay, so today was only chapter 2. Hi, Bolas. How was stream? But yeah, it's a good story. It's interesting. So those of you who are new, that were not here since the beginning of the story, I'm going to do a quick recap of what's going on before we raid on out. Thank you for the head pet, Shadow. So basically, Mr. Redlaw is a chemist, a professor, and he is known by many people to be very kind. He has a sense of duty to those around him to offer aid, advice, and sometimes even when the person is one of his students and they fall in hard times, he would give them a place to stay so that they don't have to be out in the streets, right? It's been great. Oh, good. So on Christmas Eve, Mr. Redlaw is visited by a ghost that looks exactly like him, but more haunted. And the ghost offers him a bargain. I will take from you your sorrows, the pains of your past, and in exchange, you will give me your knowledge. And Mr. Redlaw was in love with the woman, but she ended up marrying somebody else. She ends up marrying Edward's father, Longthorn, I think it was, Mr. Longthorn. And so, because of that, he accepts the deal with the ghost. But there's a change that happens to Mr. Redlaw. He no longer feels empathy in anyone that is near him. Anyone that he touches also no longer feels empathy. They lose a sense of their humanity, the things that make them people, right? So, case in point, Edward is the son of the woman who left him to go marry somebody else. And the son, Edward, is living in a building not far from his own house. And he's sick, very, very sick. And the one person who is comforting to Edward, he basically says that by her visiting him, he feels an obligation towards her, but it's not an obligation of love or care. It's an obligation of, you did this for me, so now obviously you want something from me, so tell me what it is so I can get over it, basically. And that's when Edward realizes that Mr. Redlaw did something to him when he visited. So then Mr. Redlaw goes back to his house and he sees this child that he met before. Basically someone that has no, has nothing left to lose. He has no home. He basically has nowhere to go and no one to care for because no one cared for him. And so the thing that is afflicting Mr. Redlaw does not afflict this little boy. He calls him the creature, which I don't like, but we don't know his name. And so the little boy shows Mr. Redlaw where his butler is. And so he goes to the butler, who is at the deathbed of his eldest son, George. And while Mr. Redlaw is in the room, George suddenly has a change come over him. He no longer cares that he's dying. He no longer cares that his friend Longthorn is so upset at the passing of George that he's gonna go remove himself, as it were. And because George is acting this way, his father and his brother are both no longer caring that George is on his deathbed. So Mr. Redlaw, seeing that even just being in the same room with these people in their time of grief, that even that strong of a grief is not strong enough to resist whatever powers, whatever ugly ability Mr. Redlaw now has. It's not strong enough to fight against it. So Mr. Redlaw runs away, and he's determined to no longer be around people, and he's pleading with whatever spirit took his own sorrow and grief and pain away. He's begging to have it back, if only to let others no longer feel that, to let them feel the grief, to let them feel love, Because when you lose a sense of your past, the person that you were also goes away. You have to feel pain. You have to have those bad memories, because those are what make you who you are, right? For better or for worse. And so he's begging for himself to have those things again. And that's where chapter 2 left off. How are you? I'm good. How are you, Maniac? How's your night? So true. Right, Josie? It's such a good book. It's considered a short story. And like I said, it is a Christmas story, but it's a ghost story, right? And it is before Charles Dickens wrote Christmas Carol or Scrooge, you know. And so just woke up and still have a sleep. Well, good morning. Hopefully you slept well. How did you sleep? We were doing some reading. The book that we're reading is this one. It's called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. If you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. It is a free book on Goop. Zed is trying to shut me up. Thank you for the head pet, Zed. But yeah, slept right through the night. Good. That's always nice. It's always nice when you can just kind of like sleep through the entire night, you know? But that's good. I really, really like stories like this. They're just so good, you know? But it is that time of night, and I think it's time for us to find somebody to read on into. Let's see. Let's find someone. Let's see. Should we? Yeah, let's make somebody's day. I don't know who this person is. Tsukiyume. Looks like they're doing some ASMR right now. We raided into Cube last week. Oh wait, hold on. No, I already picked. I'm gonna do a little recon. They do visual ASMR, which is always nice. It's different. Cozy vibes. They're new to ASMR. Okay, yeah, definitely. We're gonna go check out. This lovely bean. They're very cute. And they're new to ASMR. You know what? We support the homies and stuff. Thank you everybody for hanging out with me over on YouTube. If you don't have the link and you want to follow along and watch some past VODs, there's the link right there. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get ready